Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for participating in our remote Zoom meeting for the governing board meeting today. We'll do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. We ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this together. We have two formats for participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. And before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell or desk phone. This will ensure that we're not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. And during the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and South Coast AQMD staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. And after each agenda item, the chair will announce public comment. For Zoom video instructions, if you'd like to make public comment on the Zoom screen, please click on the raise hand button. This will signal to the host that you'd like to provide public comment and you will be added to the list. And if you're using Zoom on your smartphone, please tap the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen. And if you're calling in on a phone only, you can dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you'd like to comment. And your name will be called when it's your turn to comment at that time, and your line will be unmuted automatically. Please note, you can hang up and or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. And with that, Vice Chair, I turn it over to you.
Very good. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for our January 8th meeting of 2021. And first order of business, Board Member Krakoff, would you go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Was my bandwidth okay there, Mr.
Yep.
Chair?
You were fine.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. All right, with that, our first order of business is to welcome back a former board member, Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, who I believe is on the phone line, so we can go ahead and swear her in this morning. Supervisor, you're with us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for coming back and joining us again. We're happy to have you back here. And it's been a pleasure working with you in the past and looking forward to working with you again.
I feel the same about you and the rest of the board. Thank you so much.
Very good. So I've got the oath of office in front of me. Usually we would be able to do this in person, but if you can, bear with us and we'll go ahead and get through this and get you sworn back in. So you ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Very good. So I, and state your name, during such times as I hold the above office.
I, Sheila Kuehl, during such times as I hold the above office.
And I'm assuming you got your right hand raised. I forgot to mention that part.
I do. Oh, yes, I do.
Very good. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And I will do this well with and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations and welcome back again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to roll call. Can we go ahead and take a roll call, please?
Supervisor Bartlett,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, Supervisor Bartlett is having trouble getting in, so we're working on her right now in terms of trying to bring her into the full meeting.
Okay,
Councilmember Buscaino. Mayor Pro Tem Cacchiotti,
here.
Senator Delgado,
Here.
Board Member Krakow,
Present.
Supervisor Kuehl,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McCallum, Councilmember Mitchell,
Here.
Supervisor Perez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Here.
Vice Chair Benoit,
Here.
and Chairman Burke. We have a quorum.
Very good. And we'll go ahead and go into opening comments. And first order of business, I want to let everybody know that I just text with Chairman Burke this morning. He's hoping to be back here for the meeting next month. He's still a little under the weather, but feels that he'll be able to return to his duties soon. So I just want to let everybody know that. My other opening comments, I can't go without speaking up to what happened in our country this last couple of days. And I just personally feel absolutely devastated what I witnessed, what we all witnessed. You know, we just went through swearing in Sheila Kuehl, and as I look at that oath that I have sworn to myself many of days, and it was in the front of my forehead when I was thinking about it when we were watching the news, I just devastated what we all witnessed. I know that if I had been there, I would have stood with those officers defending that building, defending that Constitution, and defending our oath that we've all taken. And I know that most of my colleagues would have been on the same side of that. And I'm just absolutely devastated what we witnessed. There's no room for that in American politics, never has been in my opinion. Even when we had the Civil War, those gentlemen from the South came into that building, took a vote, went home, met us on the battlefield. When we signed the Declaration of Independence to start insurrection to form this country, 56 gentlemen over a few days signed the Declaration in August of 1776. And that's how we started this country, not by mob insurrection. Anyhow, you know, we couldn't start the meeting without talking about that. And I felt I needed to put my full face forward to the fact that that was completely unacceptable. And I know we all work here together so much better than that. And I look forward to working with everyone here, no matter which side of any aisle we're all on, because I know we're all a team. And I know we're all doing it for the American people and for America and for Southern California, and not just for our own personal best wishes. So with that, I'll open it up to the rest of my board members.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
this is Judy Mitchell. Thank you for those opening comments. I believe we all are very dismayed by what we observed in the Capitol on Wednesday. And I urge all of us to pay attention to the oath that we have taken and to understand what the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California instructs us. So I have taken out my little pamphlet of my Constitution for the United States and have been reading it once again. We all need to be informed and knowledgeable about our government and what our responsibilities are. But with that, I also want to announce that as most of you know, I did not run for office in November. I will be leaving this board at the next meeting. And I want to announce that Rex Richardson, a council member from the city of Long Beach, has been elected to take my place on this board. And I want to congratulate Rex. I have spoken with him and intend to help him with this transition and work with him as he moves into this role. The other person I want to congratulate is Gideon Krakow, who was appointed by the governor to serve South Coast Air District on the California Air Resources Board. And Gideon, as you know, has been very involved in our board and will serve us very well on the Air Resources Board. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're sorry to be losing you next month. And we'll talk more about that. You're gonna be here for the meeting next month though, right? To start it?
That's correct. I will be here to start it, but I think I will turn it over to Rex after we begin the meeting. And I look forward to having some more free time and doing some things that I'm interested in.
Very good. We'll talk more about that next month then. Any other board members? I don't see any other hands raised at this time. With that, Mr. Nastri, do you have a couple of comments for us?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have a few items to go over. First is some really good news. The South Coast Air Quality Management District is the proud recipient of a US EPA Clean Air Excellence Award. There are 5 categories. There's only one winner in the categories, in each of the categories selected. And we won for our South Coast AQMD mobile app in the education outreach category. And our app was selected as a model for others to follow due to its advanced features and intuitive design. We've recently released an upgrade that uses a blend of data from other regulatory monitoring stations, low-cost sensors, and a model run by NOAA, making it the most advanced in the region. And we now use over 1,200 distinct locations versus the previous 37, allowing for more hyper-local air quality measurements. And as you know, we're also the first in government agency in California to make the app available in Spanish. And now we have nearly 43,000 users. So we're very proud of our app, and I'm pleased it's received the recognition it deserves. The next item that I'd like to announce is one that I know you all have a great interest in, and we have made an offer for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer, and that is to Ms. Anissa Sessaher-Johnson. She will be joining us next week. She has extensive experience in diversity, equity, and inclusion, has been an equity-based organizational development consultant and coach for over 10 years. She's held high-level diversity and equity positions at both 2-year colleges and universities throughout California, Oregon, and Washington. Her experience includes assessing organizations, developing and implementing new programs, providing training for all levels of staff. And we're very excited to have her, and she's very excited to join us. And in fact, even though she starts next week, she's already been hard at work and has attended her first CAPCOA meeting and already is bringing a wealth of knowledge. So we're very excited to have her join us. And she'll be starting next week, and you will be meeting her all in the coming days. So, thank you.
Very good. And Anissa, do you want to say anything or?
Oh, thank you so much. For everyone, thank you so much. I'm really excited to join the organization. It's an organization as a lifelong Southern Californian resident. I have admired the work that you all have done and understand its importance, and am just thrilled to be able to bring my expertise to an organization that I feel so passionately about and what you all have done and continue to do. So I'm very much so looking at blending my expertise with your organization and really helping out Southern California on this issue. So I'm just thrilled to meet all of you and to be a part of the organization officially starting next week.
Looking forward to it, and thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it, and we're all looking forward to working with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anissa. And the last item is just a technical issue, Mr. Chairman. We put out an errata sheet for agenda item number 4 this morning. This is really just, it's come to our attention that we need to do some additional due diligence on one of the awardees. So there's an asterisk. You should all have received that. And hopefully that's where we are with regards to issues from my perspective. I turn it back to you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, we're going to do something we normally do in our wonderful chamber, which is recognize our employees with 20, 25, and 35 years of experience or service, to our wonderful organization. And usually it's a very special day for us in the chamber because we get to see so many of the faces of our wonderful folks. And sometimes we're all shocked who it is that, that actually has gotten to those different milestones. And I'm sad we can't do that today, but I understand that John Oliveira has prepared a presentation for us, and I'm happy to hand it over to him. So John, go right ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good morning, members of the board. Yes, once again, it is my honor to present the employees who have completed reached significant milestones in their AQMD service. And unfortunately, we aren't able to be together in one place, but we have put together a video with their names and with their faces so we can at least get a sense of who they are. So
Please join me in recognizing and applauding the following employees who have reached major milestones of service during 2020. Congratulations to our 20-year colleagues: Angelita Alfonso, Kevin Cow, Marlene Fonseca, Cindy Hooten, Rhonda Lageson, Vicki Lee, Ashkan Nikravan, Bullington Pham, Richard Rogers, Teresa Rothschild, and Hannah Swong. Congratulations to the 25-year colleague, Grace Nunez. Congratulations to our 30-year colleagues, Mark Bassett, Naveen Berry, William Brill, Julie Franco, Tom Frazier, Francis Go, Christian Hines, Scott Johnson, Glenn Kasai, Eddie Kwan, Susan Nakamura, Barbara Radline, Pierre Cesip, Anthony Tang, Faye Thomas, Paul Williamson, and Sumner Wilson. Congratulations to our 35-year colleagues, Sasan Andrawas, Al Dietrich, Mike Wixon, and Carlin Zeno. Thank you all for your dedication and service. Happy holidays.
Very good. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
All right. With that, I believe it brings us to our public comment period. We have moved to the beginning of the meeting. I do see a few hands being raised at this time. First hand that was up for a little while now is Harvey Etter. Harvey, would like to get started. Mr. Etter, you should be able to unmute now. There you go.
Hello, am I being heard?
You are. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I first want to address, before I start my time, I want to address a process question. Okay, I tried to get to the agenda. I called into the 222 number for tech support. I talked to Kevin for over 10 minutes. I could not get in to see the agenda. Okay, when it should be easy to get to when you go to the website and you click onto the meeting. It should be part of that. It isn't. Okay, this is something that Mr. Moskowitz and you folks are the direct to meet. You're limiting public access. Okay, this is violations, and it puts a cloud over the whole meeting. All right, and this is a pattern that's been continuing with y'all. Okay, so now what do I have? 1 minute, 2, 3 minutes? What's up?
You have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left, Mr. Etter.
I'm in protest over that time because that was a process question. All right. Here's what's happening with you. We got run out of district court. It's a circuit court, 9th Circuit, the 3rd of December of last year, and responding to Federal Register to file legal papers contesting that the district and CARB and EPA did not evaluate the 2016 Solar New Deal. That's 5 years ago. And we were not allowed to file papers, not even allowed to petition the government out of the clerk's office in San Francisco by the federal marshal and the FBI under color of authority and threat of imprisonment with their guns. All right. We brought this up to the district, to CARB, EPA. Nobody cares. I spoke with your from COO, why not, about this yesterday. You know, this is environmental justice, and we brought this up 40 years ago to the PUC, the first time to bring it up. And I'm incorporating by reference the February 8th Administrative Committee meeting, about 51 minutes of the board, where we brought this up and said that there was a unanimous Supreme Court case from 12 state Supreme Court, and that it said it's technology forcing, and you have to evaluate this. This coating manufacturer's going on for decades. You won the case. It's your case. I brought this up. Dr. Burke said he knew it. He gave supported what we were saying, and this is totally outrageous. And also, we applied for this environmental justice job. We were told nothing about this. We brought it up. We found an administrative committee.
Mr. Ryder, your time is up. I'm sorry you had trouble getting to the agenda packet. I know I was able to a couple days ago, and I know my staff was as well. Wayne, was there any problem with the website that we're aware of over that time?
No, sir, I've been accessing the web from home, from the office multiple times over the last week.
Okay, that's what I assumed. Just wanted to double check.
And just this morning.
Yeah. All right, our next speaker is Emily Spokes. Emily?
Hi, guys. It's Emily Spokes from the NELA Climate Collective. I just want to wish you all a Happy New Year and to express the gratitude for the work you continue to do for the city. I also want to echo the thoughts of condemnation for the heinous acts, echo the thoughts of Mr. Benoit, and just want to acknowledge that. And I want to thank you again for moving public comment to the top of the meeting, because it makes such a difference for all of us who have work to do and can finally attend at least part of the meeting without it disrupting the entire day. I extend my congratulations to Ms. Heard Johnson, and I also wish to thank Supervisor Kuhl for returning. And in general, I want to also thank the AQMD for being easily approachable and reachable for presentations throughout the city, one of which will be for the Historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council on January 27th, which is the board that I serve on. It's important that our communities get to know who's in charge of governing our air quality, and important for us to educate them on what air quality actually means and what rights they have. So with that, I wish to remind you that even amidst the distraction and unrest throughout the country, that it is your moral obligation to remember all of us and our children and those that are the most vulnerable, like my neighbors across the street whose 4 generations who live in the same home are currently in the hospital with COVID. And they deserve the basic human right of safe air to breathe when they hopefully recover. It's devastating. So please picture the thousands of kids also in South LA who are just 500 feet away from the chrome spraying operations, and picture all of the other environmental justice communities near stationary polluting areas when you are making these courageous decisions. So thanks again for all of your service, but I implore you to do all that you can in your unique positions of power to stand up for all the people in the city, because the climate crisis is urgent and there is no more time to delay making all of these courage decisions. And thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you all stay healthy.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Next speaker is Yvette Torres.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning, board members, and Happy New Year, 2021. I know we had a rough week to begin, right, the new year happening with the nation news, but I also do want to remind you all that 2020 was extremely rough for a lot of us in our communities, specifically here in the Inland Empire with COVID. We are now seeing that a lot of our community members, specifically for me, a lot of my family and friends and community members are dealing with COVID. And it's not a surprise that a lot of them, unfortunately, work in the warehouses here. And, you know, there's not a safety or anything protecting them. And our air quality was one of the worst this past year. And we're really, really hoping for better regulations this year. We just want to remind you all that although there's so much going on, the air quality in our region is a big big issue still, and specifically for us in the IE, now that we see that relationship between COVID and air pollution, unfortunately, and we have seen that. We see the COVID rates going and continue to grow. And so for that, I urge you all to please look into the indirect sources rule this year and please pass it. Our communities need it. They've needed this rule since yesterday. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Our next person, Jessica already spoke, correct? Jessica Craven? Or no? If not, Jessica Craven, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay, yeah, I have not already spoke.
My apologies.
I am, okay, first of all, I think I'm congratulating Sheila Kuehl. She's starting on the board, right?
Yes, she's joined us again from the LA Supervisors Group. Yep.
Excellent. Okay, well, that is completely thrilling, and I want to say congratulations. We love seeing more climate fighters on your board, and Happy New Year to everybody. I am a member of NELA Climate Collective. I'm also an elected member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, and you guys know me. I think I attend this meeting every month, and I just want to say that I hope that 2021 brings a new and really deeply aggressive approach to the problem of air quality in our region. And I would like to say once again, this is a personal thing for me, but I know you all care about this a lot as well. I was sitting in my house yesterday working. I, like many people, work from home right now, and there was a moment where there were 3 leaf blowers going off in houses all around me, all gas powered, obviously, because that's the only kind anybody uses. It was incredibly loud, and we have an air quality meter in our house. You know, we know when we watch the air quality get horrible every time one of those is used. And it is a source of such incredible frustration to me that they are illegal and that is not enforced. And we talk about this every time, but 1 hour of those leaf blowers is equivalent to 1,200 miles of a small car driving on the freeway. It is low-hanging fruit. They are already illegal. If you guys enforce them, think about what you could do for the air quality in this city, just with that alone. Please get inventive. Obviously, we don't want to punish the gardeners who are using them, but the homeowners, something, there has got to be a way. It is, we can't make progress until the millions of those in use in this city are gone. So thank you for your continued efforts. I hope we have a better year this year. And I'll sign off with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wayne, can you remind me, isn't there an item on the agenda to further fund the electric leaf blower commercial program?
Agenda item number 5, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So yes, just want to let you know, we have been working very hard on that. A lot of us completely agree with you that at least if we can get to electric on those, it'd be a huge increase or huge advantage for so many. And so we have been working on that, and that program, I believe, was needed more money. We're actually putting more money into it. So thank you for bringing that up, and we appreciate that. Our next speaker is Luis Montez Jr. Luis?
Hi, yes, thank you, board members. Good morning. I'd like to say, obviously, congratulations to board member elect Sheila Kuehl, and Happy New Year's. So yeah, I'm just a community organizer and activist in Southern California. Right now, though, I'm a sustainability officer for Electronic Systems JGP, a startup in Bogota, Colombia, and we're assisting some of the largest heavy-duty diesel fleets in this country transition to electric. And I'm basically just here to say that I think it's time for us to adopt a much stronger indirect source rule at the Air Quality Management District, and I hope that is a central focus of this year as we communities, marginalized communities in the Inland Empire continue to suffer from the triple threat of diesel pollution, COVID, and hopefully not, but the wildfire season when it comes around again. Thank you for your time, and I hope y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Luis. Our next speaker is just listed as call-in user 1. So I believe if this is a call-in user, they're on the phone and your caller ID did not come up. You should be able to unmute now. Go right ahead.
Yes, this is Ranji, Georgia. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ranji, please go right ahead.
Thank you. First of all, Happy New Year to all the board members, and thank you, Mr. Benoit and Supervisor Mitchell, for your introductory remarks. I want to also congratulate the board members who joined the board, Ms. Sheila Quill, and appreciate Mr. Gideon Krakow to join the ARB board. As a way of introduction for those who haven't know me, I was a scientist for 30 years at Technology Advancement Office at AQMD, and I had the great honor of introducing battery technologies and hydrogen fuel cells into the game back in the early 90s. And it's very encouraging to see that they'll be one of the two most prominent technologies to fight climate change and air pollution. My main concern here is last 30 years, unfortunately, state of California has sharply veered towards battery technologies, and fuel cells have taken a backseat. Yes, there were some funds given to fuel cells, but if you look at the funds being given to batteries over the 30 years, has been disproportionate. And when we started it in the 90s, we were very fair to all the technologies, natural gas, battery, and fuel cells, but that's not the proportion we are seeing today. So I would urge you, ladies and gentlemen, going forward, that fuel cells has certain advantages that batteries, having worked on both, I would say the fuel cells has certain advantages over batteries from an environmental point of view, as well as from performance point of view. So we should give the consumers choices of both. So I urge Mr. Krakow to appreciate the comments he had earlier made on the truck rule and how this should not be only battery focused, but to be fuel cells also. I hope that message comes through to ARB board, and I hope the members of the board play a crucial role in getting fuel cells into the market, because that is the most powerful technologies in the transportation division sector to meet climate change and urban pollution. So, and a lot of other countries have now got into the hydrogen fuel cell. Japan, Korea, they're spending now billions, in the billions. So I'm disappointed California started as a leader in this technology, and I was there. I was very pleased to be there to lead that. But now we are way behind the other countries. So I urge people, the board members, to take a greater look at fuel cells. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Adrian Martinez. Adrian.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm an attorney with Earth Justice. At the outset, I just want to congratulate all the AQMD staff that have been there 20, 25, 30, 35 years. I think it's a real testament to the agency that you have so many folks who are there such a long time. I also want to thank Board Member Mitchell for her service over the years. I think you've accomplished a lot, and actually some of the stuff I want to talk about today relates to some of the work you did, particularly in 2017. Over at the end of the year, the LA Times wrote an editorial talking about the poor air quality over the last year, and we recognized that there are myriad factors that kind of weigh into that. But we also recognize that we have a lot of pollution in our region. We understand that there are many agencies that need to do their part, and we want to work with the AQMD to push the California Air Resources Board and the federal environmental protection agencies and our energy agencies to do more to make sure we can breathe clean air in our region. But the fact remains that there is more that the Air District can do to clean up the air. In 2017, when Supervisor Kuehl was on the board, there were a couple big decisions made that year. One was a seminal decision to dismantle the reclaim program, which just wasn't providing the clean technology at facilities like refineries as required by law. And I think we're nearing kind of the end of that process. And one of the most important rules is going to come to this board, which is 1109.1. which will finally require refineries that have evaded installing life-saving and readily available pollution controls to finally clean up that equipment. This is a critical rule. There are a lot of reductions that will come from this rule. And it's important that this rule be strong and that it have ambitious timeframes to make these refineries clean up their pollution. Second decision was the decision to move forward on various types of facility measures. So the warehouse and direct source rule has been referenced today. This is a critical rule. We're going to be coming to the board asking it to be strengthened. We've had a sneak preview of kind of the strength of it, but just overall, it's really important that we get this over the finish line. We've seen the warehousing industry and the ports have had banner years this year, even as other parts of the economy have suffered. It's really important that that economic benefit has an environmental downside, and it's borne by folks who live near warehouses, ports, rail yards. We really need the Air District to adopt this rule and adopt a strong one. And this is going to be a big rule this year. And we recognize that they're powerful and well-resourced well-resourced entities trying to delay or weaken the rules. And we recognize that that's hard. It is a hard time to put forward regulations, but we ask this agency to really stand strong. These are regulations that have been contemplated for many years now. I feel like we're on the 5-yard line and we need to get into the end zone on these. And, our groups like our Justice and our partners, we want to work with the agency to really make sure we pursue these mandatory regulatory programs as a companion to the other work.
Adrian, thank you for your comments. You ran out of time just there towards the end. I think you were wrapping up, but thank you for all those comments. Our next speaker is Chris Shimoda.
Good morning, Chair Benoit, Chris Shimoda with the California Trucking Association. Happy New Year to the board. Hope you and your families are staying healthy and safe. And congratulations to Mayor Mitchell on your retirement. Wanted to provide a brief update on trucking's activities at the state level to begin the year. Last year, the Air Resources Board adopted several major initiatives, including a California-only low NOx standard for trucks, which ultimately proposes to reduce NOx by another 90% from today's already clean EPA 2010 model year standard. Excuse me. The Air Board also adopted the country's first zero-emission sales requirement for truck and engine manufacturers. This requirement proposes to have the commercial EV market eclipse the 30 years of progress in the light-duty EV market in just 3 years. So this is a very, very ambitious rule. As part of this rule, fleet operators are also required to report a host of data to the Air Board by April of this year. In 2021, the Air Board will adopt even more major initiatives, including the country's first smog check style program for trucks, the country's first fleet purchase requirement for commercial EVs, and significantly lower emission standards for certain refrigerated trailers. These rules were adopted as part of the Air Board's unique authority to adopt new mobile source emission standards via the federal EPA waiver process, and will provide significant NOx reductions in the South Coast, as well as responding to state goals to reduce greenhouse gases and achieve significant transportation electrification. We continue to urge the South Coast to do what it can to support these efforts to deploy advanced technologies, but also continue to register our concerns with the district's proposed indirect source rules, given the significant nation-leading actions pending at the state. We look forward to working with the district this year on our mutual goals to further clean the air and address climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Gabby Mendez, excuse me.
Hi, yes, it's Mendez. Good morning, board. I hope today finds you well and Happy New Year. I'm excited for this year as it is a new opportunity for strong regulations and solution for our communities. With that being said, as you have heard already, our communities have undergone extreme circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is an absolute horror, and I say this because it's something that I heard last night and then I have been continuously hearing, as I'm sure you all have as well, that people are passing away because they cannot breathe. People are passing away on their way to the hospital because they cannot breathe. And as a person who also personally underwent the COVID pandemic, as I contracted the virus along my family, I understand the really difficult symptoms that come with this virus, including severe shortness of breath. I am distraught to explain that my uncle has also passed away due to this pandemic and because of respiratory complications. With this being said, I really want to hone in the fact that we need to push for a really strong ISR this year. I am hoping that we can look and we can count on your leadership, as we have been counting on it before, to pass these strong regulations, because this is not a joke. I'm aware, and I want to validate also that you all have been going through your personal stuff as well through this pandemic. But truly, seriously, our community is passing away by countless amount of people, and it is absolutely heartbreaking to see more families put out fundraisers on their social medias for us to share. So with that, once again, I want to remind you all, right, the ISR is coming up, and we're counting on your leadership for a really strong ISR, as it can be life-changing for our communities. Thank you all so much for your leadership, and I hope you stay well and safe and healthy.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Carolina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Great, thank you so much for taking my comment. My name is Carolina Forney from NELA Climate Collective, and I'm wishing you Happy New Year. And I'd like to thank Mrs. Kuehl for coming back and returning. And also, I'm very appreciative that you've moved public comment to the top of the meeting. I am a mother of 2-year-old twins, and life is crazy with them. So it helps a lot to be able to care for them as well as get back to work. It makes such a difference, which brings me to my comment. I know Wednesday we saw a horrific display, blatantly displaying racist symbols. And it makes me think a lot that our country was founded on white supremacy, and hearing about the schools in Compton that are so close to deadly chrome spraying chemicals is disturbing, and just shows that systemic racism is still ever prevalent in our poor communities. This would never happen in Beverly Hills. So I am begging you to please fight for these children at these schools as if they were your own. And I also want to echo Jessica Craven's comment earlier about leaf blowers. They are everywhere, and I have made countless phone calls to report them, but it never seems to make a difference. And whoever I speak to on the phone it's very lackadaisical, like, oh, you're reporting this. Like, it doesn't feel like it makes any difference. And I would hope that maybe we could offer some type of rebate option so they could switch out their leaf blowers like we do with electric cars, or some type of thing to, incentivize, to help the encouragement of them not polluting our air so incessantly. That is all I want to say, and thank you so much for your time and for being so open to hearing public comment. It's truly a blessing, and I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. Our next speaker is a phone number. It starts with 310, ends in 436. So the person on the phone, 436, you need to probably unmute on your side. I believe it's *9 to unmute at this point. You should be able to unmute. So if you're on the phone, calling from a 310 number, it's your turn to speak. If you would hit *9 to unmute on your side, you should be able to do that now. Ending in 436. All right, we're going to go on to the next speaker. We're not seeing any change from our side. If you hit *9 to unmute at this point. I'm not seeing the icon change there. So we'll go ahead and go on to Lisa Bell.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Bell. I'm a member of the NELA Climate Collective. This is my first time making public comment, so I too want to thank you very much for this opportunity. This has been such a difficult year for all of us. I know that. It's been heartbreaking to listen to some of the comments made so far that have spoken so passionately about the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on all of us, on those of us who are closest to us, our friends, our neighbors. However, the quality of our air is no less of a public health crisis, and it affects many of the same people. Our elderly, new research shows, are losing years of their life, are losing their memories at greater rate. And our most vulnerable are people with underlying health conditions, be they respiratory conditions or heart conditions. Those are exacerbated by breathing dirty air. But what makes this public health crisis so different is that it also affects our children so deeply. Their developing lungs are being affected in ways that may be irreparable. And I would like to echo the comment of Emily Spokes that this is, a real moral imperative, that the action that you take this year be bold, be aggressive, and be visionary. Really be the change that all of us want and need to see in order to have faith that our community can be resilient as we go forward. And that should include the strongest possible regulation of stable source polluters. I wanted to add an anecdote since the issue of leaf blowers has been brought up a few times. I know it may seem small, but I am a practicing criminal defense attorney. I work closely with our prosecutors at all levels, including our neighborhood prosecutor. The neighborhood prosecutor has expressed some interest in enforcement, and there may be some interesting connections that could be made there. So we're offering enforcement and not just incentives. That's a very small part of a very large problem. I see among you people who are passionate, who are inspired, and who have power that all of us can only encourage you to use and to wield in the most just and equitable ways possible. So I thank you for taking our time, making time for our comments, and I look forward to seeing the changes that you make this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, sorry, it moved around on me there. Melina Lura.
It's Mariela Lora. Is that correct?
Yes, my apologies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that it was for me. Okay, thank you. Good morning to the board and Happy New Year's to everyone. My name is Mariela Lora. I'm here from the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, but more importantly, I was raised in the IE. I have gone to school here. I have worked here my whole life, specifically South Fontana, which is an area with a city council that prides itself for its warehouse expansion. And the air quality in this area has affected my community in many, many ways, especially now that every every time I go out, there's a new warehouse. It's amazing how rapidly they're being developed, especially how it affects our air and how on top of that, COVID is affecting my community. Just recently, this past month, I have had 3 acquaintances who have died because of COVID. I have known 3 families, including mine, who have all of its family members affected by COVID. I have kids. I have the kids that play outside in my street. I don't see that anymore because of COVID, because of the air quality and the asthma rates that are impacting my family and the kids that surround me. So I'm here basically to push for the indirect source rule, and that I would like that to be voted on this year, to be acknowledged this year and be a point of focus for the board this year. Thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies for butchering your name there. Our next speaker, Peter Herzog.
Hello, this is Peter Herzog. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Benoit, and Happy New Year to you all. Hopefully 2021 will be a much better and very productive year for everyone and all constituents. I do want to initially congratulate Mayor Mitchell on all the work she's done. I had the good fortune of meeting her, and I'll just say, Judy, a few years ago, working together on the League of Cities and other aspects at the city level. And obviously, you're now retiring, and congratulations on that, but also moving on to both the AQMD and CARB and the work you've done there. Appreciate all the efforts, and it's been a pleasure to know you. I'll stay with over the few years we've known each other, and hopefully we'll see you in the future as well. Moving on. Yeah, congratulations again. Moving on to the rules that will be coming forward in 2021. Obviously, this is a very complicated area in all the areas. Ozone is certainly a concern that everybody wishes to work upon, yet it's obviously very complex. And we do need to continue the review of why emissions are decreasing and ozone is still increasing. It's always been said that the best science and analysis is needed, and we need to move forward with that review that is ongoing. Clearly, as rules move forward, including the ISR, you need to make sure that any options provided in any rules are actually feasible, and that's both technologically and practically. Doing a rule that has infeasible measures or cannot actually practically be fulfilled either by the regulated community or the AQMD itself does not benefit anyone and no stakeholder and no one, any party of interest. So we do look forward to continuing to work with everyone throughout the year. And again, congratulations to Ms. Mitchell, and also wishing everyone a happy new year. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Our next speaker, Francis Yang.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I'm Francis. I'm an organizer with the Sierra Club on behalf of the My Generation campaign. I'm just calling, like so many others have called, because we're still in desperate need for clean air. You are our agency, and that's why we continue to bother you. It's the reason why we stay up late, continuing to talk about what we're going to do for our communities as we hear about the infectious COVID things, everything you already know. This isn't new to any of you. We're just asking for a real ISR, not something that's BS, not something that's just going to appease industry and make jobs easy. I know it's not easy, but we have to continue to do this because people are still dying, and we continue to just call it cleaner air. And to me, that's something that I can't really just let go easily. For us, this is about survival. So because you are immediate regulators, it really still is on you to do that work for us. So please uphold a strong and serious warehouse ISR rule this year. We've needed it for so long. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Roxy B. Roxy.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Roxana Barrera. I am a mother, student, and resident in the city of San Bernardino. The reason I am speaking today is to urge the Air District to support the rule to regulate pollution from indirect sources. The warehouse indirect source rule continues to get pushed back and delayed. My community feels the effects of the goods movement every day, every hour, every minute, and every second. This past summer of 2020, we had over 70 unhealthy air days. As a parent of a child with respiratory issues, that is extremely concerning. We are now in 2021, and this is such an important year to finally take charge on this deadly air pollution affecting our communities. We understand that these corporations are trying to reduce their pollution, but it isn't enough. We have to demand that these industries clean up the air they have polluted for so long. We also understand that the South Coast Air Quality Management District is not at fault. We want to stand alongside all of you. We just want to fix these issues. We can no longer wait anymore. We will continue to call out California Air Resources Board and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency to also work with us. As a concerned resident, parent, and human being, I urge you all to include the communities in all decisions being made for our region. I want folks in my community to have good understanding and all the information available about the importance of this rule. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Kyler Chin.
Hi, I'm Kyler. I live in Irvine in Orange County, and I'm 16 years old. I am a high school student. Let me first start by saying that Black Lives Matter and that air quality is a racial and environmental justice issue. COVID and air quality are tightly linked because we see that the air quality is worse in the communities where COVID is impacting the people the most, and it is really impacting the poorest communities, Black and brown communities. I'd also like to echo the statements made earlier on leaf blowers and lawn mowers, and that we swap them out and have incentives and have strong regulations. For my main point, I'd like to say that we need a strong warehouse indirect source rule, because the current one is only to satisfy industry. It does not do enough for Black and brown communities. We need to be keeping the air quality safe, and we need to make it better for everyone, because I don't breathe the same air as those people in Compton. Because these warehouses are located often in poor communities as well as refineries. So we definitely need a stronger warehouse, ISR, and refinery rules. We cannot keep pushing this forward on the timeline, keep pushing it, because people are dying out there. If we keep waiting until next month, there's not going to, it's going to have a detrimental effect on our communities. So I ask that the board members, please make sure that you are going to implement a stronger warehouse ISR and enforce a stronger, cleaner air quality standard. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Either now or at the very end of the public comment, I just want to make a comment briefly about our commercial electric lawn and garden program, because obviously these people share our ideals and our intensity to do something about it, but you're not aware of our program.
Go ahead right now if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if the people who made the comment, 4 people from NELA and others have made the comment about encouraging an incentive program, and we do have one. We've had one for a long time, and we're out in front of this, probably in the nation actually, in having a commercial electric lawn and garden equipment incentive program from an EPA targeted airshed grant. And if you notice on Exhibit 5 on today's agenda is a transfer of more funds. I want to thank Wayne and staff and this board for pushing this, because we're out there pushing cities, school districts, and commercial gardeners. And if you can, if the people who have spoken, get your information to our staff. I will come, because I'm only a 10-minute bike ride from my house to NELA Climate Change. I'll go down the Arroyo, the bike path, pull up at Avenue 26, and I'll bring our staff out there. I'll bring our contractors out there, and we need your help to work with the commercial gardeners and landscapers to do something about this. We're there. We're ahead of other agencies, other parts of the nation. South Pass is the first city in the United States to convert all of our parks to all the electric lawn equipment. And the people in NELA, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair Benoit, just a few miles south of them at the State Park, Los Angeles State Historic Park, we, with other partners, convinced them to convert all their equipment to all electric commercial lawn and garden. So contact our staff. I want to meet with you. We shouldn't punish these gardeners. We want to work with them. We've got a great incentive program. They can get 80% off their equipment. So call us, let us help you. I'll go down there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. And thank you for reiterating that again. I figured we'd talk about it when the item came up again too. And I have some thoughts on how we can further that program. So
Great.
We'll get into that when we get to the item, but thank you for sharing that. Our next speaker, Anthony Victoria.
Yes, good morning. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. We're just trying to breathe. I'm from the Inland Empire. I'm an environmental justice organizer, and I'm addressing you now, just hours after I lost a family member to COVID-19. And these are unavoidable deaths. These are premature deaths. And the result of this suffering is due to people being unable to breathe clean air. And why is that? It's because air regulators like yourselves aren't doing enough to address the impacts that this logistics industry is having on our communities. Like many other people before have said, there's an abundance of warehouse development taking place, and it's just causing a lot of pain and suffering for our communities. And you know, if you want to be remembered for being an agency that sits on its hands and does very little to address air quality concerns, then by all means. But I think this is the time to take action and to really show our communities that you're serious about not just improving the air quality and shifting the culture, but also making sure that we recover from this pandemic in an efficient way. And so you have a crucial moment here. People have been coming to you for years now, for years, around this warehouse ISR. And I think you owe it to us people to do the best you can to make sure that you're protecting communities, especially communities of color, especially Black communities that for too long have been suffering. And so I just ask you to please do your job and do whatever you can to protect us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Chris Chavez?
Yes, thank you, board members. My name is Chris Chavez. I am the Deputy Policy Director for Coalition for Clean Air. I am also a resident of West Long Beach. Before I get to my comments really quickly, I do want to thank Councilmember Mitchell for her work and dedication, and in particular, particularly her dedication to AB 617 implementation. I know she has attended many, if not most, of the Community Steering Committee meetings. It's been very active in that process, so thank you very much for that. I also wanted to welcome Supervisor Kuehl to the board as well, again, and certainly look forward to working with you and your staff. As with others, I do want to state my support for a strong indirect source rule and really emphasize the need for this board to act quickly and make seeing that rule come into play and bringing immediate air quality benefits to our communities. As others have mentioned, this is a huge environmental justice issue. Diesel particulate matter is the main air toxic cancer threat in this area, and that threat is even higher for low-income communities and communities of color. And studies have shown that communities of color and low-income earners are at higher risk for more severe COVID symptoms, in part due to pre-existing damage to their respiratory systems from air pollution. So there is a significant public health threat that comes from air pollution, as we all know, whether that is from asthma, cancer, and now a potential to suffer from more severe COVID symptoms. Again, I understand it's a complicated issue. There's a lot of factors at play, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, people are trying to breathe, and they need to breathe clean air. So again, I encourage this board to implement the strongest rule possible, to continue working with the community in bringing this rule to fruition. Lastly, one small point also about AB 617 is I would encourage this board to consider how to work with municipalities and local governments to ensure that their plans are consistent with the community emission reduction plans in AB 617. We're going into year 3 of the process, and the staff and the community has done really admirable work in trying to get these plans up and running. But ultimately, it's going to take the local governments as well to play ball here. And I know, like, for example, in the city of Long Beach, they just approved their climate action and adaptation plan, and it only had a small reference to AB 617. So really being proactive and trying to work with our cities is going to be vital to the success of that program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Our next speaker is Patty Sincall. Patty? Patty, are you there? All right, we'll come back to Patty. She might have stepped away for computer for a moment. Our next speaker, Fabian Wesson. Fabian, did you mean to this time?
I meant to this time. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone is well. I just quickly want to say my goodbyes and hellos. Goodbye to Gideon, board member Gideon Crackoff. You have been a boon to the AB 617 program. We thank you for that. Board member Judith Mitchell, my God, what a soldier, what a great board member you have been. You will be sorely missed. Hello to Supervisor Sheila Kuehl. Welcome back. You have been missed. I welcome my friend Rex Richardson. I look forward to him being on the board and helping South Coast out. And a welcome to Anissa Hurd Johnson. My God, are you needed? But I did have something to say quickly. Considering what happened on January the 6th, when we all watched, the shameful destruction of our capital by white America, I had to speak today. During the beginning of the Black Lives Current movement back in June, we discussed there was a discussion by management about the need for the agency to be in unison with our Black communities. In case you guys hadn't noticed, I am a Black woman. But anyway, this hit home, and I thought I had to speak up and said that we needed work here at home, at the agency, in our own kitchen. And to my delight and surprise, it was met well by management. Management agreed, begin the work of getting suggestions and comments from the employees and creating the ideal panel. This was encouraging. I, along with Hanea Cox and Catherine Higgins, we began the task of organizing the Black employees out there at South Coast and making certain that we were a cohesive group and gathering our concerns and making certain that we were heard. And we thought we were listened to. We hope that we were listened to, but we haven't heard any progress or process, or they haven't. I'm retired, so I'm no longer an employee, but I'm still a Black woman and was involved in the formation of this group. So I'd like to respectfully ask the board to place the new diversity officer and the ideal panel on the board agenda. I think in light of what's happening in this current situation, the fair equity and treatment of the Black employees at South Coast needs to be highlighted, needs to be a fair, open, transparent process, and we need to have it out in the open. So I would love to see that on the board agenda. Also would like to see that community diversity committee that used to be out. It was a public committee way back. That would be an interesting component to add, but I'll talk that over with the new diversity officer when I meet with her. I think it's exciting.
You're on mute, Vice Chair.
My apologies. Fabian, thank you. Your time ran up, but we appreciate all your comments. Thank you very much. Next speaker, we'll go ahead and go to Al Sattler. Al?
Okay.
There we go.
I'm starting welcome. I especially would like to say thank you very much to Judith Mitchell for your many, many years of excellent service, of protecting public health, of moving us forward to cleaner air, and we wish it would have been cleaner yet faster, but we know that you have been pushing in this direction. I also wanted to say thank you to Sheila Kuehl as a new board member coming back. And on a topic that hasn't yet been raised, I would like to know what in the world is the status of the feeble safety measures that were promised by the 2 oil refineries having to do with horribly toxic hydrogen fluoride. Probably with reduced gasoline demand, those two hydrogen fluoride alkylation facilities could be completely shut down without affecting supply price of gasoline. It should also be obvious that with our hospitals already overflowing with COVID-19 patients, any release of hydrogen fluoride, heaven forbid, would be that much more of a disaster, with hospitals overflowing even more. I mean, we warned that any major release would cause hospitals to be overflowing, and some of the hospitals closest would probably be most impacted by hydrogen fluoride releases. So I hope that there will be some discussion, some further looking into some real progress on the issue of hydrogen fluoride in refineries. I have not seen anything publicly available about this. There's been no meeting of the refinery committee, and it was scandalous enough what the refinery committee did to the community in way back when they did it. I forget the date. And we need to move forward on this. And I also want to say that I agree with the comments of Adrian Martinez that we need to have real restrictions on NOx from refineries. This has been going on for entirely too long. And indirect source rule would also be good. And leaf blowers, it's the dust from them that rather than.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Nasri, do you want to make a quick comment on that?
Yeah, we're actually releasing this afternoon the refinery update report on the status of 1410. That'll just give a brief update with regards to what the refineries had committed to do over the year and where they are on that status. So we'll be putting that out today.
Very good, thank you. And Fabian Wesson, could you go ahead and raise your hand again? I'd like to give you 30 minutes to wrap up your comments. We got to your end of your time, and I saw your hand raise again, and I thought, well, we'll go ahead and give you 30 more seconds. So can we get Fabian back on for a quick second? You just have such good energy, and I want to get a little bit more. I think if you could unmute her, just go ahead and unmute her. I'm sure she'll just take a few seconds.
She's unmuted. She needs to unmute her.
Fabian, you need to go ahead and unmute your side. Uh-oh, Fabian might have walked away on us. Okay, we'll try our next speaker in the queue is Byron Chan.
Hi, thank you, Vice Chair Benoit. Good morning and Happy New Year. My name is Byron Chan, and I'm an attorney at Earth Justice. I want to start by welcoming Supervisor Kuehl back to the governing board, and I want to really thank Councilmember Mitchell for her incredible service. So 2020 ended up being one of Southern California's smoggiest years in decades. There were 157 days when the region exceeded the federal health standard for ozone pollution. So 2021 will be a crucial year for the governing board to take decisive action and live up to its mission to clean the air and protect the health of all residents in the South Coast Air Basin. Communities in the region need strong and enforceable rules to turn the tide on air pollution. The governing board is responsible for passing such rules. Rule 1109.1, for example, will require refineries to install life-saving pollution control equipment. Unfortunately, refineries are fighting to delay and weaken Rule 1109.1, even while they continue to poison communities. The Air District originally aimed to finalize Rule 1109.1 by December 2018. The agency then moved the deadline to October 2019, and then to September 2020. And after last month's governing board meeting, The agency now proposes to finalize this rule for adoption by June 2021. But there's no time to waste. The board must demonstrate leadership and pass a strong rule that requires refineries to quickly and effectively install the emission control technologies that they have avoided for so long, to the benefit of their shareholders and to the expense of community health and safety. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Todd Campbell.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. My name is Todd Campbell. I represent the company Clean Energy. We deliver renewable natural gas to near zero or low NOx trucks. And I wanted to first start out and say thank you so much for all your years of service, Board Member Mitchell. You have made a tremendous difference for this region and the state, and your unwavering commitment and dedication to the South Coast will be remembered for many decades. I really appreciate your style of leadership. I appreciate that you've listened to many stakeholders and that you've been attentive to all of our needs, and we will miss you greatly. I also wanted to comment on the upcoming indirect source rule, specifically the warehouse rule. I wanted to remind the board how critical that rulemaking will be and that it is badly needed. I know that other stakeholders today had mentioned some of the things that the state is doing. And unfortunately, you won't see the impacts of those actions for at least another decade or more. And I know Board Member Mitchell knows that this is something that we've commiserated on numerous of times. We will fail and we will not meet our attainment goals in 2023. I don't know how we do it, but people are in harm's way. Trucks are the #1 source of pollution. The ports are bustling. The e-commerce has made our society, due to COVID and other factors, very heavily reliant upon trucking and shipping. And the claims that that sector of the economy is hurting is absolutely false. We know it. We look at the statistics. It's a good time to be in that industry. And it's really unfortunate that the ports have yet to adopt their container fee or their fee on truck entries that don't meet the standards that they hope to see, because I think they could have really made a big difference in creating a program to incentivize truck drivers to do the right thing and purchase cleaner trucks. Hundreds of thousands of pre-2010 trucks will be coming off the roads in 2023 from the DMV. And if we don't act fast and we don't provide the incentives, they'll just be replaced with slightly newer but still dirty diesel trucks. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Our next speaker is Kareem Kongora.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Governing Board. Happy New Year, and thank you for the opportunity to address you all, as well as I want to extend my appreciation regarding moving public comment to the front of the meeting. I have 2 children distance learning, and I've been able to join and attend to their needs due to this. My name is Kareem Gongora from the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. The last time I was here, I was thanking you for the assistance in purchasing electrified buses within the Fontana Unified School District. I'm here before you today because of the urgency to pass a strong indirect source rule that will rein in polluters throughout Southern California, especially in the Inland Empire. This last year, we've seen insurmountable growth in the logistics industry in our region. And per the AQMD, we've only had a handful of good air days. And yesterday, a no burn order was issued due to the poor air quality. I want to call attention to a LA Times article this last week that highlighted how San Bernardino County is extremely distressed by the pandemic. And just this morning, a report came out that refrigerated shipping containers are on their way to Southern California to store the bodies of people who have tragically lost their lives to COVID-19. A study by Harvard School of Public Health found direct correlations with chronic exposure to particulate matter 2.5 and mortality rates, in which a small increase in long-term exposure to PM 2.5 leads to a large increase in the COVID-19 death rate. In our own preliminary analysis, we found associations with high asthma rates, which are disproportionately high in this region as well. And we look forward to sharing more information soon on that. In the LA Times article I mentioned earlier, their analysis of coronavirus case rates in communities for which data are available found that of the top 50, about half were in the Inland Empire, including Riverside, San Bernardino, Paris, Moreno Valley, Jurupa Valley, Bloomington, Barstow, Colton, Rialto, Victorville, Fontana, Highland, Adelanto, and Hesperia. With that being said, I live in Fontana. I'm a father of 3. We have seen warehouses built directly behind homes in proximity to schools, and industrial specific plants expanded. And also, let's be mindful that this community is 70% Latino, 9% Black, 0.7% Indigenous, and 0.1% Pacific Islander, yet comprise a majority of the cases and deaths reported within San Bernardino County. Therefore, I strongly urge you all to pass a strong indirect source rule. We are here to work in partnership with you and look forward to building stronger regulations that cleans our air, saves lives, promotes good health, and puts community first, especially communities of color like mine that are just trying to breathe. Thank you again. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Carla de la Cruz.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Happy New Year, board. And I want to both welcome back Sheila Kuehl to the board and thank Judith Mitchell for her years of service. I want to focus my comments today by borrowing a phrase that Judith Mitchell actually said at one of the most recent important CARB votes, which is that we need every ton of NOx reduction that we can get in this district for every year to come. And that's because our air quality issues in Southern California are so paramount. You've heard dozens of community members talk about COVID, talk about the impacts of freight, talk about the resurgence of goods movement. And we've seen really that business is really back to normal for many of these businesses. And unfortunately, so is the health conditions that come along with living next to these polluting sources that affect not only their public health, but their quality of life. So I want to just remind this board that although we're only 8 days into the new year, it very much still feels like we're in the same norm of 2020. And I want to offer a friendly challenge that I believe that this year, 2021, needs to be the year that we break from our norm, that we need to really pursue the solutions that communities have been asking for and really go after every ton of NOx reduction that we can get in this district. So many folks have already spoken to the important need for the warehouse ISR. I also just want to echo the importance on finding other sources of NOx reductions, including gas appliances in our buildings, as well as other refinery sources and other stationary sources as well. The warehouse rule will be one critical rule that many communities have been fighting for over a decade, but it's not the only rule that will make a difference in air quality. So a friendly challenge to this board that along with other programs like AB 617, if we really want to make those programs real and make the community emission reduction plan real, we need to instill the regulations and the rules that those community emission reduction plans identify as the solutions that those community members want. So again, I'm Carla de la Cruz. I'm with the Sierra Club. I want to thank you all for your service, and I look forward to working with you all in this new year.
Very good, thank you. I believe Fabian's ready for a second. I wanted to let her wrap up her comments real quick. She had some great comments, and if we could go ahead and just let her unmute her, and we'll give her 30 quick seconds to do that. Go ahead,
Great.
Fabian.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was wrapping up. I just wanted to say, number one, January the 6th was my grandson's 2nd birthday. You all know me and know how close I am to my grandkids. For something like that to happen on his birthday was just unbelievable. The other thing was, imagine if that had been Black Lives Matter. different story. So think about our Black employees and over 30 years of this unfair, unequitable treatment, and if their story could have been different. That's all I wanted to say. You guys, we do a great job out there. I don't have to call you and tell you to do good work and all of that stuff. You're doing it. You're doing the good work. But I will be talking about Black Lives Matter. So look for me next month. All righty. Take care. Thanks, Chairman. I appreciate you. Bye now.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll go ahead and try calling on Patty Sinicol again. Patty, are you available?
Okay.
Uh-oh. Sounds like you might have a second device in the room. You want to mute?
Dan, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right. First of all, I would like to echo the wishes of all the commenters and wish the board and the staff all the best in the new year and our continued collaboration with the board and the staff. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mayor Mitchell. And I just wanted to say on behalf of WISPA, thank you. Thank you for always being available for meetings. And we've had a lot of meetings and you have been stellar in your willingness to dig in. You have, you always say yes to meetings and we really appreciate your willingness to be accessible and for thoughtful discussion, and just give you a shout out. Your dedication to public service is admirable and very a great role model. So we just want to thank you and wish you all the best, and lots of fun ahead with your granddaughters and good times there. I want to give a welcome back to Sheila Kuehl. We look forward to working with you and your staff. And I just wanted to make a quick point on the reclaim program that was brought up earlier. I just want to remind the board that reclaim was started in 1994 to drive clean air in a flexible, cost-effective manner. And it was designed to achieve better emission reductions than through command and control. And it, in fact, has done that and continues to do that. We've had a 70% reduction in NOx emissions, 70% since 1994. That's 50%. 50% was for non-reclaim and 70% for reclaim sources. So the program has worked. And I just want to remind folks that we are in the middle of another shave that the governing board did pass on December 2015, and that is reducing NOx emissions by another 12 tons. And that's implementing now from 2016 to 2023. And the refinery sector has a 56% shave of that. So we are continuing to reduce NOx emissions. So regarding 1109.1 in the new year, we will continue to collaborate with the staff and work through technology feasibility, the cost, and also the scheduling of 1109.1 in terms of implementation. So we're committed to work through this rule with staff. And again, just wanted to say to all, we look forward to the new year, and we're committed to working with the board and the staff. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, I see Angie B, but is that the same speaker we had before? Angie, did you speak before?
No, I haven't.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Happy 2020 board. My name is Angie Valderas. I'm from the Inland Region. I'm with the Sierra Club. And first off, I would like to, it's sad to see Judy Mitchell go, and thank you for everything you have done, Judy. We really appreciate you, and thank you for setting the example what it is to stand with community and be a public servant. And welcome. Yes.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you for all that you're doing out in San Bernardino as well.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you. I just want to say I have lived in the Inland Region for over 3 decades. My community is being heavily impacted by warehouses and diesel trucks and much more harmful pollution every day. I'm sick and tired of living through not only a COVID pandemic, but a climate pandemic that my region has endured every day. As someone who has trouble at times breathing and family members who have asthma, I ask you, we need to ensure that we are protecting our communities who are subject to jobs like warehouses. Warehouses have not only entered our communities, but invaded and infested our communities without consideration to the people they are harming. We not only need a ISR, but a strong one. Please, we ask you to do your part to protect the communities who are highly at risk. We have to say goodbye to 2020 and what we thought was normal. We need to do great changes in order to save Mother Earth and to take care of our communities and to keep us healthy. So please, enough is enough. It's time to make those great changes. And I hope you'll join us in protecting us. And we're just trying to breathe. So thank you. And once again, Judith Mitchell, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Very good. Next speaker is Jane Williams. Jane, go ahead.
Good morning, board members. Jane Williams. I'm the Executive Director of California Communities Against Toxics. And I am so thrilled that we are here in 2021 and that we have new board members, although I am heartbroken to see Judy Mitchell go. You are one of our clean air champions, and I hope that you will stay involved in efforts to clean the air post your board involvement. And welcome also to Supervisor Kuehl. South Coast has a huge job in front of it this year. Efforts to reduce air toxics emissions in highly impacted communities, refinery rules, the warehouse ISR rule, and efforts to get us on the road to attainment. And I just want to emphasize the important comments of Ms. Wesson. It just is increasingly clear that the veil has been pulled off the coffin. It is our environmental justice communities, our people of color communities that are so horribly impacted from NOx and PM and air toxics pollution in these communities. And the toll of air pollution is still, it is the greatest contributor to mortality that we have in the South Coast Basin. And so you have a huge job in front of you. I hope that you will have courage. I hope that you will really take the opportunity of this new time, this new understanding of the impacts of air pollution on public health, and a renewed commitment by the environmental justice movement in California to really get the emission reductions that we need, and to be courageous and move ahead. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year. We have a huge job in front of us. Thank you for your dedication.
Thank you very much, Jane. All right, that brings us to the end of public comment. I have no other speakers in the queue at this time. We'll go ahead and move into the meeting. All right, we have the consent calendar. I know there's a couple people that need to make some announcements before we go into that. I'll bring it back to our board.
Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead, Supervisor Rothman.
For agenda item number 4, I do not have a financial interest, but I'm required to identify for the record that I'm a board member of Omnitrans, which is involved in this item, and the same thing for item number 10.
Very good.
Mr. Vice Chair, Board Member Krakow here. I've got some matters to discuss on items 2, 3, and 4. On item 2, out of an abundance of caution, I'm recusing myself due to my position as General Counsel of the California Waste and Recycling Association, which is potentially involved in this item. On item 3, I'm going to repeat the line that Board Member Mitchell has said many times. I do not have a financial interest, but I'm required to identify for the record that I'm a board member of the California Air Resources Board, which is involved in this item. And then on item number 4, I'm recusing myself from participation because of financial interests in California Waste Services, Inc., Kirk Tasmanian DBA Aero Disposal Services, and NASA Services, which are materially affected by this item. Thank you.
Very good. Any other board
Chair?
member? Yep, Supervisor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm recusing myself
I'm recusing myself from participation in agenda item number 4 because of a campaign contribution within the last 12 months. And additionally, though not considered a financial interest, I am further required to identify for the record that I am on the Board of Supervisors, Riverside County, which is also involved in this item. Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I need to speak as well. Sheila Kuehl.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you. On agenda item 10, I don't have a financial interest, but I am required to identify for the record I'm on the Board of Directors for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, which is involved in item 10.
Very good. Thank you. Any other board member recusals? Do any of the board members wish to pull any items or make a comment on the items before we take them as a whole? And we do have some public comment too.
Mr. Chair, Caccioti, item number 5, you and I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead and make your comments and I'll make my comments. And then if we can leave it part of the agenda, we can, or unless you want to pull it separately.
Ben, yeah, and I think if we can work with these community groups to address their issues with especially the leaf blowers, we've been working on this program, as you know, because your city was one of them that also endorsed the program and participates and converted over to electric lawn equipment. That if we can work with these partners, I know several months ago, myself and board member Krakow and board member Delgado met, and we were trying to think how we could reach some of these commercial gardeners, and many of whom are Latino or minority gardeners that speak other languages. So I think if we can get into the community, people like NELA Climate Action Change and others that have these issues and work with them in their communities, and we'll go out with our staff and the contractors, whether it's Riverside, San Bernardino, or here, and try to reach those gardeners. I'm looking at a old file, Ben, from back in 2016 early, when I was over at Cal State LA, pushing this program with our contractor and other people, this commercial electric lawn incentive program. And I looked through here, I wasn't, but they were in Redlands in early 2017 and other places. So we've been out there, but we need more help.
Yep.
If I might add to that. So
Sure.
Actually, I did want to speak on this one too. We've been thinking about this for a long time, and I think that it's important that we try a different approach. And I know what we do with the Trade In My Ride program, where the similar program for cars is we actually allocate the money to a nonprofit, an EJ community nonprofit. And I thought if we could find one in the Valley, like the Point Beautiful, one in Coachella Valley, and one in the mid area, CBE, to give out the money instead to the community groups. So they actually just go through the process for, the gardeners, because I don't know how we do it. And Cacciati, you have been amazing in giving of your time, but I think it requires a little bit different approach that's more direct with the environmental justice groups. And if they could administer the grants, I think we might be more successful.
I think that's a great idea. And, one other thing I'd add is we did a fairly good program with the sensor network with basically bringing in-house and testing sensors and giving those sensors the ability to say they've been tested by AQMD. I think we need a similar type of marketing approach, that we maybe spend some money on marketing to find what the proper Google term ought to be, whether that's green gardener or clean gardener or electric gardener, and then slap our logo on, or at least slap something in the title, AQMD, certified green, or AQMD certified green gardener. Because I know that even in my area, as I go to try and find a gardener for a home, there's no good way to put that into Craigslist or put that into Google or whatever else. And it would be a tool in the tool chest of these gardeners if they could do that. And I think another thing we also need, though, is maybe a card. And I think you're probably spot on, but something we could leave with the gardener or leave with the homeowner. Hey, my neighbor, I see you have a gardener, but he's not very green. Would you consider using a green gardener, or would you consider giving this to your gardener so your gardener can go look at these programs? So I just feel like there's a couple different opportunities that we could do. So staff, I think if anything, I think what we're hearing is we need to spend some effort on this and reevaluate how we're doing this, and maybe come up with some other plans. But there's definitely some ideas. And I see Supervisor Perez, you have your hand raised as well. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Caccioti, as well as Ms. Delgado, for your points well taken. Obviously, me being out here in the desert area, an area in which, quite frankly, there's a lot of tourism, hospitality, and with that being said, quite a bit of landscapers and landscapers whose primary language is Spanish. I think that we need to do everything possible to try to develop some sort of campaign that really targets them, but that comes from within, right? Maybe we can use the nonprofits, and we can use promotoras that already exist, and why not? As an alternative, quite frankly, maybe as a main frame to get the job done and get the word out. With that said, I'd like to maybe propose a technology committee. I'm not a member of the technology committee, but maybe the technology committee can have another look at this and come up with some great ideas and options for us all. Interestingly enough, I appreciate as well Mr. Delgado's point. There's concerns out here as COVID has hit us hard with folks that are having struggles with paying their utility bill, whether that be water, whether that be gas, whether that be electricity, even internet service. But what we are able to do out here in Riverside County, for example, is rather than providing a $2,000 check, if you will, to the actual individual, the customer that applies to Riverside County, we're working with the agencies. And what we're doing is directly providing those funds to those agencies and putting those funds in the account of that one individual that applied for that utility assistance. Maybe we can do something similar to that. And rather than this case not being an agency, maybe it's a nonprofit that already exists in our communities. And also, another avenue is through our AB 617 CECs. I think that's another way in which we can also get the word out and engage those folks that already are part of those committees to ensure that ultimately we thrive. I appreciate the point made earlier. I don't know who made it. It's not about placing blame, right? It's at no fault of the landscaper per se. But if there's ways in which we can improve the situation, let's do so. And let's work with them, and let's work with the nonprofits. Let's look at this as a partnership moving forward. Those are my comments, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to echo the sentiments by you and our colleagues about perhaps having this revisited at Technology Committee and seeing if there's other strategies and ways that we can promote these types of programs and get the funds into the hands of the end users so we can have that transition on this equipment. Also wanted to welcome back our colleague Supervisor Kuehl, and look forward to working with you. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Very good. With that, are there any items? This is items 1 through 17 that board member wants to pull separately. If not, we can leave them together and we're going to take public comment on all of those. Didn't sound like we needed a separate vote on any of them. So we'll go ahead and take public comment now on items 1 through 17. First person up is Ranji George. Ranji, go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yep, go right ahead.
All right, thank you. My name is Ranji George. As a way of introduction, I worked with the Technology Advancement Office, and we were in California, the first to introduce battery technology, and later, 4 years later, fuel cells, and I played a prime role in that. And I'm gratified to see how far battery technologies have come along since we started it, since I was involved in the 1990 ZEV regulation, and we introduced the concept of battery against stiff opposition everywhere. But the product cycle took so long, 10, 20 years of development, testing, consumer feedback, and we are still struggling to get it into the end user's hand. I would say that you should also introduce fuel cell technology design and start doing that, because sometimes where batteries cannot meet the need, fuel cell technology can do that and much cleaner. For example, in the forklift area, we have 40,000 fuel cells for forklifts. It's amazing the number of fuel cells there. Application. It started first with diesel, then it went to propane, the forklift technology. Then it went to batteries, and they found that batteries cannot meet the duty cycle of 4. And now a lot of people are switching to fuel cells. And Plug Power, who's one of the top providers, they are doing well. But I just want to see if the board can urge the Technology Advancement Office to look into fuel cell development of these garden equipment, because I'm sure many gardeners who may be reluctant to embrace battery technology because it's maybe too heavy. I don't know what are the objections, too heavy, or the range is limited, or they have to wait too long for recharging. These are practical things a lot of people who are trying to earn a living have to consider. So fuel cells just may be able to address those, but we have to start now because it may take 10, 15 years, hopefully sooner, to do that. So I urge the board member, for every dollar you spend on batteries, please spend something on fuels. It's a great investment for the future, because once we have zero emissions everywhere in the basin, we won't have these air quality issues of progressing and then regressing, progressing and then regressing. So that's what's the problem with combustion technology is we cannot maintain the air quality. But with zero emissions, and I'm pleased to be the scientist who proposed the term zero emission vehicle in 1990, and that was taken up by South Coast and ARB at that time. So I urge you to consider fuel cell technologies for these applications as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranji. I have a phone number, 310 number ending in 436. You should be able to unmute yourself now. There you go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. And good morning, board members. I'd like to provide some comments on item 3 for the record. My name is Brian McDonald. I'm here representing Marathon Petroleum Corporation. For awareness, Tesoro Logistics is an indirect majority-owned subsidiary of Marathon Petroleum Corporation. Marathon is pleased the California Air Resources Board has selected the South Coast Air Quality Management District to be awarded its grant to develop a safe, reliable technology to reduce emissions from tankers at berth. By supporting the development of this technology, our expectation is to provide the team members insight into the operation of tankers and terminals that transport feedstocks and finished fuels into and out of the state every day. We do believe there are challenges that must be overcome to make a capture technology for tankers safe and reliable. Tankers are some of the largest machines in the world, and many years of engineering has gone into their design. Just one example of design unique to tankers are the onboard control systems that ensure its cargo hull remains inert while a cargo is being loaded and unloaded. Any emissions solution must ensure these safety controls and others are not compromised. Tesoro Logistics looks forward to working with South Coast Air Quality Management District to identify solutions. And before I end, I also wanted to thank Judy for her service. I will not attend the next board meeting, so I wanted to wish you good luck in the future. In the short time I've interacted with you, it has been a pleasure. Your willingness and openness to hear from Marathon is appreciated. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Very good. Our next speaker on the consent calendar items is Al Satter. Al Sattler.
Okay, so hi. I just want to very quickly talk about item number 5, the lawnmowers. And just to say that the exhaust, the fossil fuel exhaust is one issue, but the other issue is just the dust coming from them, and perhaps a vacuum cleaner system would be better, or else a throttling back so they can't be generating as much dust as some of them do. It was really interesting to hear one person say that they had was showing just how much worse the air quality was during operation of leaf blowers. And actually the other thing is it's not just technology, but marketing in a sense, getting it out there. And as again has been said, well, marketing and both in the sense of getting, having, people know about it and in appropriate languages. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Pienso? Pienso? Am I close?
Good morning, it's Teresa Pisano. And I'm with the Port of Los Angeles, and I'd like to make a statement today about item number 3. The Port of Los Angeles supports the California Air Resources Board Capture and Control System for Oil Tankers grant project led by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. This project will support the goals of the San Pedro Bay Port's 2017 Clean Air Action Plan update and its Technology Advancement Program, which is focused on testing and evaluating the performance of emerging technologies through in-service demonstrations. The evaluation of a barge-based capture and control system for oil tankers at berth has the potential to provide significant emission reductions if the technology can be proven to be effective and capable of implementation at our ports. The ports have received and evaluated a Technology Advancement Program application from the South Coast Air Quality Management District to provide funding for this project. And now that the CARB grant has been secured and a terminal demonstration partner has been identified, we will complete that process and present AQMD's request for TAP funding to the Los Angeles Board of Harbor Commissioners for consideration. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Matt Arms. Matt, go ahead.
Good morning, board members and staff. I'm Matt Arms, Director of Environmental Planning with the Port of Long Beach. The Port is pleased to support item 3, the Capture and Control System for Oil Tanker Project. We too appreciate AQMD taking the lead on preparing this project, selecting the technology and technology provider, and applying for the grant. As Teresa said, the project has been submitted to the Port's Technology Advancement Program for review. And now that CARB funding has been awarded, we will work with the AQMD staff and the Port of Los Angeles for next steps. Again, the proposal will need to be presented to our Board of Harbor Commissioners for consideration of match funding, provided that terminal partner and Port of Los Angeles are also committed to the project. And then finally, on behalf of the Port of Long Beach, I would like to thank the California Air Resources Board for providing this much needed funding. And again, I would like to commend the AQMD and your staff for taking a leadership role in this project.
Very good. I take it that concludes your comments. All right, we'll go on. Next speaker is Ken Franke. Ken, go ahead.
Good morning, board members. My comments are related to agenda item 4. Ken Franke, president of the Sport Fishing Association of California. Our membership includes a majority of the U.S. Coast Guard inspected commercial passenger sport fishing vessels in Southern California. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important topic. It's important we also express our appreciation for listening to our comments of the 18th and taking constructive action with your staff to include the marine sector in your program. It's evident the staff are working hard during a difficult time. The 700 pages of this agenda are indicative of that effort. With regard to funding consideration covered in tables 6 and 7 of the agenda item, it's our recommendation that every effort be made to identify any equipment on those combined lists that are high emission reduction opportunities and to add them at some point to this funding cycle. This is a significant opportunity to make a major impact at reducing emissions right here and now, while also ensuring the longevity of small businesses that serve disadvantaged inland communities. Our fleet is the only opportunity for many of the school and family groups who do not live on the coast to have access to marine education and ocean activities. Action now will ensure their access continues. Again, thank you to you and your staff for your efforts. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Donna Kles, Donna?
Yes, hi. Good morning and Happy New Year to the board. Thank you for allowing me to comment again today. My name is Donna Kales, owner of Dana Wharf Sport Fishing in the Orange County District. We have 2 marine projects that we submitted for year 22 funding. First, let me say that I addressed this board a few weeks ago saying that we have 2 very cost-effective programs that were not on the list of approved projects. And we were also not included in the backup or alternative lists for these projects. This was very distressing to us, and we are a small, struggling business in Orange County and depend on funding from AQMD for our repower engine programs. Now our position is even more dire because of the ongoing strain with the COVID pandemic. After the December 18th meeting, we were very happy to see that we were indeed added to the backup funding list, and you can see that on table 7, we are included. My comments today are to ask that staff please consider table 7 as funding becomes available and weigh table 6 against table 7 and choose the most cost-effective program. Please do not base it on our zip code, but on cost effectiveness and delivering the lowest possible emissions. We all need clean air, regardless of zip code. Although we are very encouraged by the additional table, we still are fearful we won't make it off the list. One of our projects was on the backup list last year and never made it off. We are just asking you to continue your hard work in reviewing the best possible projects. Thank you for your time, and thanks to your staff member, Matt Mia Otso, sorry if I messed up your name, Matt, for all the help and for explaining the process and helping us along. Thank you again.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Don Brockman. Don, go ahead.
Am I unmuted?
Yep, go right ahead.
Thank you. Hey, I want to thank the board, especially, 2 weeks ago, I've never seen something to where we've come on a Zoom meeting or any type of meeting and you guys recognized that there was some type of an issue. I own a boat called the Thunderbird in Newport Beach, which does 5,000 hours with Tier 0 engines, which are the highest polluters. They're 40-year-old Army, Navy engines. And as Donna and Ken Frankie has said, we just want to be part of this program. We need it. We've all got issues going on with COVID and we're just trying to stay in business. And that's a lot of these table 6 items, when I look at them, they're going to be running these construction projects. We'll be running an average of 3 to 4 hours a day, where our sport fishing boats run from 12 to 18 hours a day, every day. And that's why you get up to 5,000 hours of engine operating costs. So anyways, we just want to make it a fair process, and we appreciate all your help. And let's all get through this next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I just have a series of numbers, 282871. I hope that's not your PIN number. Speaker 282871.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. If you could
Okay.
state your name, that'd be
I don't know
great.
how you got those numbers. Okay, this is Mike Thompson. Thanks for letting me testify. Just a follow-up to Ken Frankie, Donna Kalas, and Don Brockman. I'm one of the owners of Newport Landing Sport Fishing and Davies Locker Sport Fishing and the Thunderbird in Newport Beach in Orange County. And I have to say that the last couple of years, I guess you haven't funded any projects in the Orange County or North Marine Pop projects in the Orange County or North LA area, Redondo Beach, Marina Del Rey. And the optics here are not good for your organization. I think you're required to spend at least 50% of your money in impacted areas, which I understand. The rest of it can be spent elsewhere. And you have to realize that some of your decisions could be considered discriminatory against competing businesses who are operating in the same geographic areas. Our boats all operate outside Long Beach Harbor, Catalina Island, wherever. So it's just bad optics. That's the end of my comment. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. I have one of the Angie B's. I'm not sure which Angie it is. Go ahead. Oh, looks like that hand went down. Angie, want to speak or not? All right. Oh, yep, I see you down there again. Might have just hit the wrong button. We wouldn't unmute Angie.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, it's actually Yasi. Angie and I share a Zoom account. We work together at the Sierra Club. I'm an organizing representative. I'm here to comment on item 16 for the rules calendar. And I just want to also start my comments by wishing everyone a happy 2021 and thanking Board Member Judith Mitchell for her service, her courage, and constantly doing the right thing by hearing us all out towards climate justice. So I really appreciate all that you do, and we hope that Board Member Rex can carry on your legacy. I wanted to just pause for a second and really emphasize the need for a warehouse indirect sources rule that's going to be on this item here and being approved for a calendar here. I think you've heard from many of the comments before, and we appreciate the public comments being ahead for community members to show up and share their stories to remind you the need to continue the legacy for public health and public policy. And just as a reminder, I wanted to read, the AQMD's governing board adopts policies and regulations that promote clean air within its 4-county area, the smoggiest in the nation. Federal and state law require that the South Coast AQMD achieve clean air and standards to protect public health. 2020, we set the highest records of smog last seen back in the 90s. And, I just want to emphasize that this calendar item needs to be upheld. We continue to push back the warehouse measures. We're continuing to be loose on refineries, and we hope to hold you all in truth to power to keeping the regulations and laws on the books so that we can all do our job. We're pretty frustrated right now with, I am at least, on the indirect sources rule. The stringency needs to be tougher. We've done the economic studies, and relocation isn't going to be an issue. Warehouses are continuing to make profits in our region while people are dying and getting sick of COVID-19 in the Inland Empire where I work from and live at. So, you'll be hearing from more folks every month. We appreciate the Zoom access as well, and know that these are weird times for all of us, but we cannot continue to move backwards. 2020 is a reminder that we can be innovative and move forwards. And thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Yossi. Our next speaker is Jesse Marquez. Jesse? There you go, Jesse. You should be able to unmute now.
Hello, my name is Jesse Marquez. I'm with the Coalition for a Safe Environment, and we are here to oppose the staff's request to support their request for funding. Number one, Staff Engineering, who was their selected partner, does not even have a business office. They use a PO box. They do not have a manufacturing facility. They only have a business website. They have never built a ship emissions capture and treatment system. Their proposed system is unproven. I had an error in number 6 and 7 in my comments. The stack design does not meet current U.S. Coast Guard and federal law safety requirements. The stack design does not meet the petroleum industry oil tanker ship safety requirements. Stacks actually stole the designs and patents and rights from AEG, ACTI. The stacks barge drawing provided to AQMD was stolen from AEG, ACTI. The stacks principals are ex-AEG employees. Stacks and AQMD never received a financial commitment from the San Pedro ports in advance. Stacks Engineering has no money, let alone having millions of dollars of matching funds. They don't have a cent to their name. Stacks has no participating local minority-owned business partner. Stacks has no participating local women-owned business partner like Sol Libre. Stacks has no local EJ organization support or participation. Stacks has no local DAC organization support or participation. AQMD failed to verify any of Stacks information and claims. AQMD actually invited AEG to participate in this GARB solicitation. AQMD began requesting and receiving information from AEG. AQMD at the last minute informed AEG that they were no longer going in the direction of including AQMD. AQMD staff contacted me personally to ask for a letter of support for their partner. AQMD sent me information who identified Stacks Engineering as their new partner. Coalition for Safe Environment is a Sol Libre LA project partner and participant. Coalition has filed a Public Records Act with the AQMD and CARB regarding the selection process. Sol Libre AEJ planned to file an appeal with CARB opposing the AQMD selection. The Sol Libre project cost was $5.7 million, while AQMD project was $10 million. AEG is the only company that has CARB approval for a testing on a oil tanker ship. AEG is preparing litigation against Stacks Engineering for patent infringement, fraud, and theft of property. AEG built the first ship exhaust and treatment system in 2008. AEG has a business office, a warehouse, and storage yard for over 15 years, and AEG has a port marine.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez, for your comments. I know staff might have some responses. We're going to take that at the end of all the public comment. I have a phone number ending in 069. It's a 562 area code. You should be able to hit *9 on your phone to unmute. Again, phone number 562 ending in 069. One more time, phone number 562-069. You hit *9 on your phone to unmute at this time. There you go. We see you're unmuted now on this side. You might have a local mute on your phone. We are not hearing you, 562-069.
Mr. Chairman.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we're hearing you. You broke up a little bit. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Kevin Nicolello. I represent Advanced Environmental Group. We respectfully request the board deny item 3. We think there is a number of discrepancies in the application, including the possible theft of trade secrets by former AEG employees involved in the application. We're requesting the board investigate the Stack Engineering technology and application prior to any movement on this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker I see is Harvey Etter.
Hello, can I be heard? Am I being heard?
Yes, go ahead.
To correct you, to speak, you do not do, you do *9 to get in the queue, it's *6 to speak, okay, for future, all right? I shouldn't have that time. All right, okay. Overview, solar conversion, the various technologies. We've been coming, my name's Harvey Etter. I'm the founder, director of the Public Solar Power Coalition. Been around over 40 years and coming to the district over 35 years. I first had records in plans 30, 40 years ago. In 88, right before Ranji came, all right? Ranji did not support what we were trying to do back then. There was a 91 plan that was a federal plan, just like there's a threat of it now. And that you're trying to avoid that. And illegally, the district, CARB, and EPA have ignored the Solar New Deal, the 16 Solar New Deal, and have purged it. And this has happened in federal court in December 3rd of the year before last. Okay? We are still contesting that under federal torts. We'd like to welcome back Sheila Kuehl. And we'd like to work with the county on its own. This needs to be done, and the city of LA. We got ran out of court. We could not petition the court. We did not get the petition responding to the Federal Register, and we put all kinds of stuff in there from September, the Arctic melting and methane, nitrous oxide, etc. These numbers on that were not included in the 16 and in the climate numbers. And this pandemic is climate. It's SARS-3. And incorporating by reference on March 9th, Annie Ramanan from UCLA and the Institute of Health Fielding news conference stating this. Okay, this was coming, and we knew it. We got run out of federal court. There's 100 exhibits in there on different solar technologies and the equity issue and all this, and it was not evaluated by staff here or by CARB or by EPA, and then we got run out of federal court by the federal marshal and the FBI on the 3rd of December of 16, without allowing to petition the government, no less, submit anything, no less be heard in court, and under color of authority with guns by the FBI and the federal marshals. And this will not stand, and we're trying to get the tape from them. We can't get the darn tape. We got no support from the state, from the board here.
Did we lose Mr. Etter, or that was the end of his time?
That was the end.
Mr. Etter, thank you for correcting me. You are correct. It is *6 to unmute. My apologies for anyone that was having troubles earlier. I do apologize to anyone that might have been stuck unmuting. All right, I do have a couple more speakers, and I do have some board members who wish to speak, I know, and we'll get back to staff, make some comments as well, but I want to go ahead and get through all the public speakers at this point. Mr. Francis Yang.
Hi, everyone. This is Francis with the Sierra Club. I'll make my comment really brief, and it's been said before. We're just looking for a strong warehouse ISR. We'd like to see that on the calendar in a timely way. We know that you're working hard for it, and you already know where we stand. We know that it needs to be stronger because in the end, the communities aren't actually going to feel the relief. And so please, oh wait, actually I do have one more thing. Judith Mitchell, we are so sad to see you go. Please continue to stay engaged. We're more than happy to continue to talk to us, talk to you, and we look forward to Rex Richardson. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to you and all your organization does.
Our next public speaker for consent calendar is Bob Sharp. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and board members, for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Bob Sharp, founder and president of Stacks. My comments regard item number 3. Tankers are now the biggest source of unregulated emissions in California. Tankers are unique. Most of their emissions are from boilers. Shore power does nothing to reduce emissions from boilers, so shore power is not an option. Capture and control is the only known means to capture these emissions. That's the reason for the CARB solicitation. Regarding the previous comments, I take the opposite view. I believe CARB correctly selected Stacks for many reasons, including the proposed project is several generations more advanced than existing technologies. Stacks is an independently developed technology, and it's developed over several years of R&D, and we have our own patents. Stacks technology is designed with tankers in mind from the beginning, solving the challenges associated with tankers. This includes a self-anchoring watercraft that can operate without touching the tanker, a self-powered watercraft that can quickly disconnect and depart under its own clean power. It connects remotely, so people no longer have to board the tanker to install and remove. It can be used with all types of ocean-going vessels, not just tankers. And Stacks technology is the most efficient and cost-effective, removing nearly 100% of PM 2.5, NOx, and greenhouse gas that cause climate change. The Stacks barge also has advanced renewable technology, such as a hydrogen fuel cell, which will completely power the system when operating on a tanker. It has electric propulsion with a hybrid electric drive, which replaces the 2 to 5 diesel-powered tug round trips every call. It has a microgrid that takes energy from the fuel cell or solar or grid power to charge the battery for propulsion. And to top it off, we'll finish everything off with a carbon capture demonstration supporting Stacks' primary goal of solving 1% of climate change by stopping 500 million tons per year of CO2 from entering the atmosphere from existing long-lived polluting assets. So this project is just the beginning. Stacks is a versatile technology that can rapidly be scaled to make enormous improvements in the air quality in the basin. We at Stacks are dedicated to help the affected souls who need it the most, reducing PM 2.5 near the ports, NOx in the entire district, and climate change globally. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Leslie Purcell. Leslie?
Hi, am I on now?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Thank you. This is Leslie Purcell. I just had a quick comment, and I wanted to thank you all for your work and urge you to do everything that you can to regulate and encourage and incentivize all these different aspects of our air quality that need to be improved. I actually observed, this is in regard to number 5, that I had observed a neighbor's gardener first spray Roundup around, and I did go out and ask afterwards what he was spraying. And then he got out his air blower and proceeded to blow things around. And I just wanted to bring this up as another issue that many lawn gardener companies are not organic. And so if they're spraying pesticides and other chemicals around, and then they're blowing them into the air, that affects everybody in the neighborhood. And so I would just like to put that on your radar screen as another air quality issue and health issue that you might consider in some fashion as part of this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike E. Mike?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Great. My name is Mike Eveloff. I am here representing Celebre LA. My comments concern item number 3. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As detailed in written comments provided to the board, we believe the sole source designation for Stacks is faulty, as AEG already has an emission control barge in the water. We also believe that the use of trade secrets and other materials belonging to AEG were improperly used in the Stacks proposal by former AEG employees. We ask that item number 3 be amended to allow for an investigation into the Stacks proposal and how the sole source designation was justified. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the public commenters on the consent calendar. Wayne, do you have some responses for some of those comments, I believe, or Matt?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. There were a number of comments in sort of different sectors. So I'm going to start with one and then I'm going to have Matt jump in on the others. So with regards to the commercial lawn equipment grants, the position was posed to us to evaluate how we can distribute funds looking through communities, perhaps nonprofits, and bring it back to the technology committee. That's something that we will absolutely evaluate and bring back. Just note that, there are conditions with regards to how we receive those funds, how we distribute those funds. And then the other point that I just wanted to note was that it's not as if we're undersubscribed on those funds. We're getting all of those funds out. So the equipment is getting out there. And then with regards to the marine vessels, perhaps Dr. Misato can comment on that, as well as on item number 3. Dr. Misato?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. I'd be happy to. So as far as the Moyer Award, I'll take the easier one first, number 4. So we had a lot of comments from marine vessel operators. As we heard in technology committee, we did add those marine vessel projects to the backup list, which is now reflected in table 7 of your board package. And what we committed to do at the technology committee, as well as what we're committing to do in the board letter, is that if there are fall through projects, and we typically get 10 to 30% of fall through. So for whatever reason, projects aren't able to be completed, that we would go to the backup list. And we would take the most cost effective of those. And I can tell you that marine vessels are the most cost effective. They give us the greatest bang for your buck in terms of emission reductions. The only caveat is that we have to be cognizant of where the funds are coming from. So some of the funds have some restrictions that don't apply to other funds. For example, the CAP funds, the Community Air Protection Funds, require certain very high percentage, I think it's 85%, be done in DACs. And so we have to be aware of what those restrictions are. But based on the cost effectiveness and the typical fall through, I'm fairly optimistic we'll be able to fund those marine vessel projects. We also committed in Technology Committee that we would look for additional funds. And so that's what we're doing, looking for potential other funds. And then finally, we are working with ARB to change the definition of DACs to not just be domiciled zip codes. We agree with the operators, as we stated in previous awards. We don't believe domiciled zip code is the right way to identify whether emissions are going into disadvantaged communities. So we're working with ARB on those. So that is item number 4. Item number 3, you heard early in the testimony from both ports. Both ports support our application to the California Air Resources Board for the $10 million grant to conduct this project. We vetted the project proposal with both ports before we even submitted it. And furthermore, there are concerns that staff has with the operators, that AEG, that was formerly known as ACTI. And you may know that their current technology is currently not available for use due to a cease and desist order by ARB. So we've also have previous experience working with the company on a project that we did for the Port of Long Beach, where there were some concerns that staff had that we weren't able to conduct the second phase. So we believe strongly that the technology that was selected and proposed by this staff and the port staff is the one to try.
Very good. Board Member Rodriguez, you've had your hand raised for some time. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment and observation for us to consider regarding related to items 7 and 9, the Why Healthy Air Matters WAM program and the Clean Air program for elementary students, the CAPES program. You know, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I think many families are challenged with the balancing act, like sharing the challenges as a parent of two children in public schools of elementary school age, as to kind of grappling with the transition in education that's happening right now. Learning at home, being at school under the atmosphere of the masks and everything that goes with trying to learn on site. Some are splitting those as well. A portion of the week on site, portion of the week at home, or even their day is split in such a way where they're learning in the morning, on the afternoon at home, and then going to on site to school for a couple of hours. Whatever it might be, I think these programs that we offer are a great opportunity for us to look at how we can, in the midst of COVID, offer these programs as a supplement for all school districts. I think it's certainly important that we're focusing our resources on the environmental justice, education outreach. But as we were talking earlier, Vice Chair, about our marketing efforts on other programs, I'm curious if there is an opportunity for us to revisit, in the midst of COVID, offering our programs under WAM and CAPES in a way that's geared towards digital learning as a supplement for students, so that we're just providing, in the midst of this pandemic, even more education resources that are at the fingertips. And many times students are asked on their own, once they're finished, I'll take our home when my daughter or my son, who are in 3rd and 5th grade, are asked to do their assignments at home before class, before they go on site. They'll have a 4-hour block, and then they're done within a couple of hours, and they're looking for materials. They're looking for supplemental resources to fill the gaps. I think for parents that are looking and grappling with, well, what else can I give my child to work on, these programs could certainly provide some great supplemental resources of learning and help the next generation of children here in Southern California as they grow into adults and into maybe the future leaders on AQMD or on staff or business owners or teachers as they move into adulthood. I think this information could be kind of sowing the seeds of our future leaders and sensitivity to air quality, and they could be even more responsible citizens and leaders. So just wanting to throw that out there as an opportunity for us as a governing board to consider that, to see if we can give some direction to staff to see how we could utilize this great information for all school districts in our service area in some capacity. Thank you for your consideration.
Carlos, I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm proud to say that I believe our staff has already taken many opportunities to do that, to make this a more digital effort and to get it out to more schools. But I'll hand it over to Derek Altori, I know that heads up this program. So Derek, you want to expound on that?
Thank you, Vice Chair and Council Member Rodriguez. Yes, it is a great idea. We are actually, as Supervisor Rutherford has suggested, to put this on video, these teaching modules on video. So we're in the process, the consultant is in the process of actually, filming, shooting the videos so they can be put up on our website. Although due to the pandemic and especially, and we just had this discussion this week with the consultant, LA County is requesting all filming to cease for the next couple of weeks. So they were going to start filming in Burbank. I believe it was going to be next week. And so they just notified us that the studio that they were going to shoot the video at has requested to delay shooting the video. So at some point we will have it up available for everybody. But as mentioned, there is a criteria that we set, but I think we've already discussed it internally that if some schools, there are not enough schools to fit the criteria of the first three criteria being AB 617 communities, SB 535 and 2866 communities, then we will open it up to other outside of those environmental justice communities. So a long answer to a very short question, but we are getting there.
Thank you. And I just really appreciate the previous comments, not only by Senator Delgado, but Supervisor Rutherford, as staff is clearly on the road to that. And I just want my comments to serve as affirmation for continuing those efforts. And whenever that information is available, that we can be aware of that so then we can promote that opportunity in each of our respective counties. So thank you again for those efforts. Appreciate it.
Very good. Any other board member comments or questions on the consent calendar, items 1 through 17? And if someone would like to make a motion to those, if there's any other questions or comments?
Move approval of staff's recommendation on 1 through 17, Mr. Chair.
Mitchell, second.
Gideon, did you have a comment or?
Yeah, so I've got a recusal on items 2 and 4, but I'm
right.
A question on item 3. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get in on time. This involves the issue of the hoods at the ports. Can staff give a little bit of an update? I know that we are trying to get some financial commitments actually committed from our partners at the ports, LA and Long Beach. Can we get an update on that before we vote on the item?
Thank you, Board Member Krakow. This is Matt. So our understanding, well, you heard from both ports, they testified that they're in full support of it. I think you also heard them mention that based on their process, now that it has been approved, they will take it to their boards for approval for co-funding. So our understanding is that that is underway.
So are we the chicken in this or are we the egg, right? So we'll get there. We need to approve ours first, is what I'm hearing.
We address this in Technology Committee, Vice Chairman, where we will float the full cost of the cost share with full anticipation that the ports will come on board, and then we will supplement their funding instead of ours.
Perhaps an issue that can be brought back to Technology Committee if there are any hiccups along those lines, if it doesn't proceed as we expect. Thank you.
Be happy to.
I'm sure Matt will come and tell us if we don't get the funds from them right away. All right, any other questions or comments? I do have a motion and a second for items 1 through 17 with those recusals that we mentioned earlier. All right, we'll go ahead and go into a roll call unless anyone has any other comments or questions. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cacchiotti,
Yes.
Senator Delgado,
Yes.
Board Member Krakow,
Yes.
Supervisor Kuehl,
Yes.
Mayor, Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Benoit.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-3 absent.
Very good. That brings us to the board calendar, items 19 through 23. Does anyone have any comments or questions or wish to pull any of these items for comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to make comments on item 23.
Go right ahead.
This was my last meeting at the California Resources Board, which took place on December 10th. We did bring up as an informational item, the mobile source strategy. And this was an information item and we would actually act on it. But there was an acknowledgement by CARB staff that South Coast will not be able to meet its ozone requirements of 2023 and probably 2031 within the timelines that are required. So there was discussion at the board for us to work further on development of near-term strategies to reduce mobile source emissions in the basin. And I will mention, I did bring a motion to include low NOx, the low NOx 0.02 gram engine in HVIP funding. But the only support I had was from Alex Sheriffs in San Joaquin Valley. So this is where we are. And I gladly hand this over to Gideon to keep working on. But we certainly have been facing a monumental challenge to reduce our NOx emissions and consequently ozone emissions to meet those requirements in the Federal Clean Air Act. And it looks like we won't do it. We won't be able to get there. So we need to be thinking about how we address that as we approach that 2023 date. Thank you.
Very good. Any other board member comments or questions on the board calendar? All right, and my understanding these are all just receiving files, correct? Okay. With that, we'll go to the budget and economic outlook update.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Benoit and board members. This is Jill Wynot, and I'll provide the highlights on the economic and budget outlook. So if we could go to slide 3, please. I think I'd like to say overall, we're still kind of holding our own. We're doing all right, but we do anticipate some decreased revenue streams as we're moving forward. So we're keeping a very close eye on this. I want to highlight on the monthly comparison. If you look at November 2019 to November 2020 for the refinery activity, it's down significantly. It's down about 40% month to month. There is a little bit of a difference though, because November 2019 had a different number of weeks because of the calendar, but they're still down quite a bit. The port throughput is up significantly, as you can see here. We can go to the next slide, please. The refineries overall year to date are down about 19% or so. The ports, however, the ports, however, are about even with last year and even slightly ahead. Then we'll go to the next slide and I'll begin to review some of the revenue and other metrics that we look at more specifically to South Coast operations. Reminder, the blue lines are fiscal year 1920, orange is fiscal year I'm sorry, blue is 18-19, orange is fiscal year 19-20, and gray is the most recent year, fiscal 20-21. You can see revenue is continuing to track fairly well. Go to the slide 6, please. Expenditures are also looking pretty good. You can see how cautious we've been so far this year, and we're really trying to minimize the expenditures. Some of the bumps in this graph have to do with the timing of payroll, which is our biggest expense. If we go to the next slide, please. Our vacancy rate continues to be very high. This is the primary way we're managing some of our revenue, but we're at the point now where we really are starting to need to fill some critical positions, so that's in progress. Next slide, please. One of the items that we track is sort of an indication of overall emissions for our sources are the continuous emissions monitoring data of NOx for some of our reclaimed major sources. You can see from the orange line, we are still continuing to trend downwards, and year to date, we're down about 20% or so. Next slide, please. Permit activity is continuing to trend very low, and this is a concern for us because this will affect our revenue in the future as we recognize the revenue when we take permit actions. December was a little bit less of a decrease compared to November, which was one of the biggest months, but overall we are down significantly. We're down about 21% compared to the previous year. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? The permit fee revenue, actually December was a little bit higher than the previous 2 years, but we're really trending about on par or slightly lower. Next slide, please. Annual operating fee revenue, which is one of the larger revenue categories, was actually a little bit higher in November and almost equivalent in December. So far that's looking pretty good. Next slide, please. The fee review committee reviews requests for correcting errors, and the majority of their requests are for looking at payment plans. And the number of requests for payment plans has actually really gone down the last several months. Even though the year to date is a lot higher by number, we saw a huge increase at the beginning of the pandemic, but recently the numbers are much more similar to what we've seen in the previous year. So that's kind of an interesting trend. The next slide, please. The expired permits is also a little bit of a concern. We are seeing huge increases in the last several months of the number of permits that are late to pay their fees. The dotted lines show all of the permits that still have time to be reinstated, because you can reinstate up to 1 year. And I wanted to highlight that, you know, this number of 582 for December, we had a similar number in September. It was over 500, I think it was 550, and that's already down to 144. So a lot of these facilities just need a little bit more time. And if you look at, this was sent last Wednesday to the board, but this data was as of last week. There's already been over 50 of those 582 permits that are now paid and reinstated. So we're making progress and we're continuing to work with those companies. The next slide, please. The last metric that we track on a monthly basis are the number of documents that our agency reviews related to CEQA. And these are other agencies' primary projects mostly. And you can see we're continuing to trend a little bit lower on that respect. And the next two slides are the summary slides again for your reference. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Any board member comments or questions on this? Not seeing anybody. I do have a public commenter on this item. Mr. Harvey Etter, your hand's raised. This is on item number 24, the budget and economic outlook update. I would ask that you please keep your comments to that item, since that's the item we're on now.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm Harvey Etter. I'm director founder of the Public Solar Power Coalition. The solar solution to air pollution has been purged by this district, by CARB, and by EPA. You're required by the unanimous decision in 12 of the Supreme Court to evaluate the solar technology, and we are run out.
What was that, Bay? Go ahead.
We just need to remind him that he needs to speak to this item, which is regarding the budget and economic outlook.
Which I already did. So Harvey, last chance. We need to speak to the budget and economic outlook update. If not, we're going to have to cut you off.
Harvey can unmute himself.
Harvey, go ahead and unmute, *6.
Hello. Okay, for your information, my educational degrees is law and political economics of environmental problems. Okay. We're seeing, okay, they say 30% of small businesses are going to fail now. The pandemic is raging. We hit over 4,000 cases. This is climate. This is another vector, just like the beetles that took out the trees and caused the fires from the utilities negligence and whatnot. Okay. This is the overview. The technology that goes and is cost effective. You refuse to evaluate the DOE recommended solar technology that they studied for 10 years based on what we did with the moonshot program and space in the 60s. It's cost effective. We brought it to you in the progress reports going throughout this process, and you refused to evaluate it, and neither did CARB. And Mary Nichols, not supporting our position like of environmental justice, was not put head of Biden's EPA, and this fellow from back east of Blackfella from Carolinas was. Okay. This is personal. We got run out of federal court and threatened in prison. We got no support from you. Nothing. This is outrageous. This is America.
Right.
We are seeing.
Please stop the comments. Harvey Eder, you got way off topic again there. Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, unless anyone else has any other questions on the budget and economic update.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Jill, what percent of our revenues are the permit fees?
There's two different categories of the permit fees. We have the permit fees, the annual renewals, that's about $60 million. And the permit fees that come in is about 20 million. So that's 80 million. And our total revenue is, on a yearly basis about 185 million. So it's 80 out of 185. Which is a little bit less than half of the revenue, if I did that right. Sujata, you can help me out if I didn't do that math on the fly correctly.
So Supervisor Rutherford, our stationary sources are about 65%, which includes permit, operating and emission fees. And if you're just talking about permits, that's about 20 million of 170 million. So it's about 12% or so.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Very good. Any other board member questions or comments on this item? Not seeing any hands raised, although I can't see quite everybody. Let me get back to my gallery view. Not seeing anybody raising their hands, so we'll go ahead and go on to the next item number 25, the certify the final environmental assessment for Rule 1407.1.
Good morning and Happy New Year, Vice Chair Benoit and board members. My name is Mike Morris. I'm a Planning and Rules Manager. Next slide, please. As background for this rule, we started this 5 years ago, initially as a information gathering rule, where we were looking at potential hexavalent chromium emissions from chrome alloy melting. And the reason why I say potential is that for decades, it was thought that there weren't any hexavalent chromium emissions from this type of operation. We did start to see some evidence, and so we wanted to pursue this. In 2018, we came to the board with an information gathering rule, and we were opposed by our stakeholders, and the board directed us to find a new approach. With the help of the California Metals Coalition, we did embark on a new approach, and that was to do some anonymous testing at 2 of the facilities that would be subject to a potential rule. And with the help of our source testing team, led by Mike Garibay, who sadly passed away in November, we did set up testing for this type of operation, and that group helped us do the analysis. And most importantly, out of all of this, the source testing confirmed that in fact there was hexavalent chromium emissions from these melting operations. And with that information and the knowledge that we also gained from this testing, that the equipment that they had there to control the emissions at these 2 facilities was successful in limiting those emissions so that they would be less than what would be a negative impact in the community. We're now moving forward with this proposed rule. Next slide, please. So this rule will fill a regulatory gap. As you may recall, over the past several years, we've been amending our rules for metal melting. Previously, we've had our Rule 1420 series rules that address lead emissions from melting operations. Last year, we came to you with a rule for non-chromium alloys, such as aluminum, carbon, steel, brass, and bronze, and regulated the toxic emissions for that. And this rule will regulate hexavalent chromium emissions from stainless steel, alloy steels, and super alloys. Next slide, please. The rule will be primarily focused on the point source controls at furnaces. Will require control equipment to limit emissions to those that you see here in the graphic. There'll be initial source testing to show that the control equipment will reduce the emissions to the levels required in the rule, and periodic source testing to confirm that regularly. In addition, we'll ask that the facilities have parametric monitoring equipment so that we can ensure that the equipment is running properly throughout those time periods where we're not testing it. And if they happen to have problems during the parametric monitoring, they'll be asked to do source testing within 6 months. Next slide, please. We also learned from the previous rulemaking that control of fugitive emissions is very important. So we are including in this rule enhanced housekeeping and building requirements to contain and to control fugitive emissions. Next slide, please. So in summary, we are proposing 1407.1 to fill a regulatory gap. This is with the inclusion of the control equipment by these facilities. It is a costly rule for these facilities with an estimated cost of $2.8 million over a 20-year period. We've worked with these facilities for the last 5 years to come up with what we believe is a rule that addresses the hexavalent chromium issue in a way that's fair and addresses the key issues. And at this point, we're not aware of any remaining key issues with our stakeholders. And with that, staff is recommending that the board adopt the resolution certifying the final environmental assessment and adopting proposed rule 1407.1. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Very good. Comments and questions on this? Supervisor Bartlett, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, Michael, I just have a question. If you can go back to slide 5, where you're talking about the minimalizing the cross-draft effects. Let's see, with regard to the roof openings, which I understand, but I also understand that perhaps some of the facilities might have their side doors open as well. So is that something you're going to be addressing in addition to just the roof openings? And if so, if they have everything closed and contained, do they need to implement something on the interior then if they don't have the ability to cross-draft?
So the cross-draft requirements with respect to the walls, we're requiring that 2 walls be blocked off to minimize the cross-drafts. For most of these facilities, that will require some minor upgrades. In the picture that you see here, you see some strip curtains blocking an opening, and that's pretty much what's a few of the facilities will have to do. We don't expect any large construction in order to meet this rule, but there will be some efforts in order to block off some of these openings to prevent the crosswinds.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Very good. Any other board member comments? If not, I'll go ahead and go to public comment. Do we have anyone wishing to make public comment on item number 25? I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this. Going once. So I see Harvey Etter has raised his hand. Harvey, we'll go ahead and give you 3 minutes on this public hearing item, but I would advise you, we need to keep you on topic of this public hearing item, item number 25.
Hello, am I being heard?
You are.
Okay. History. 36 years ago, I came to the district about a metal plating plant in East LA owned by a guy named Shine, who he had an apartment building on a Rolo in Koreatown that we put solar hot water in. It was very difficult to install. Anyway, we were talking to him about doing this metal plating plant, and we came in here that there's all these other problems. It was just tanks, and the stuff was just dipped into the tanks. Anyway, so there's problems here, and the heat requirements and whatnot could all be done with solar. And I'm not familiar with the details of all the toxic control technology, but this can be integrated as well. The thing is, we've been talking this stuff for 4 decades, and y'all ain't implementing it. And it's a reoccurring pattern, and we're whistleblowers. The climate numbers are 2-3 times what y'all claiming, and you're backsliding. You've had this in your plans for 40 years and never implemented rules and regulations, and didn't put in control technology guidelines or alternate control guidelines for 20, 30 years. So, garbage in, garbage out. That's what they say in information technology, computers, whatnot. It's the same for public policy and inactions. This is outrageous, and you get run out of federal court. This is not America, and your silence is deafening. It's outrageous. And then
all right, Mr. Etter, you veered off course again, but we appreciate your comments. The first 2 minutes were pretty much on point, so I appreciate that. Our next speaker, Tyler Chin, go ahead. Tyler Chin,
can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm asking that the board vote yes on the proposed rule 1407.1 because of the because of the known hazards to human health and animal health in our communities. As you know, severe exposure to chromium, especially where these plants are in Black and brown communities, can lead to a lot of health problems such as cancer, gastrointestinal problems, vomiting, hemorrhage, sensitivity, central nervous system damage. And I also ask that worker safety is prioritized when the proposed rule is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments on this item? Not seeing any hands raised. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this item. Bring it back to the body. Supervisor Bartlett, I see your hand still raised. Is that from before or? Oh, that's from before. Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Oh, hold on. Councilmember Mitchell has her hand raised, and then I'll bring it back to you again, Gideon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to congratulate our staff and the stakeholders that worked on this. This was an issue where we were looking at source testing to determine whether there were emissions from chromium alloy melting, and source testing was going to be exceedingly expensive. I want to thank the California Metals Coalition for coming forward and working with our staff to find a solution to that could reduce those costs and also get us to the result that we needed to get to learn whether there were in fact, emissions from this process. So I think we've reached a very good result here. I haven't heard anybody come forward from the metal industry to complain about this. So I'm assuming that you've all worked it out very well, and all of our stakeholders are on board with it. The other thing I want to say before the meeting ends is do want to welcome Supervisor Sheila Kuehl to our board. I had the great pleasure of working with her before when she was on our board, and I am certainly going to miss the opportunity to work with her again, but do welcome her to our board. She was a very productive and good contributing member of the board in the past. So, and thank you, staff, for working this rule out, and hopefully we have something good here.
Thank you. Board Member Krakoff?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Wanted to echo the comments of Board Member Mitchell and applaud our staff, Mr. Morris, Metal Finishing Coalition, for working together on what seems to be an exemplary process and a real good consensus outcome in furtherance of our mission. If I can ask Mr. Vice Chair and our staff, I took a look at our rule calendar for this year, and we have a lot of rules on hexavalent chromium this year. We have this rule today, 1407.1. And then looking at the rest of the year, board members, we have another metal finishing, we have a metal finishing rule, I think again, addressing hex chrome, that's 1426, that's coming in April. In May, a rule for chromium spraying, 1469.1. And in December, two more rules. A metal finishing rule having to do with different types of tanks, that's 1426. And then a metal heat treating rule, 1435. Some of these are new rules, some of these are amended rules, is my understanding. And I haven't been here with the board as we've tried to tackle the question of hexavalent chromium emissions and the toxic air contaminant impacts that it has in our communities. What I would ask staff to do, just very briefly before we vote on this, if they could put sort of in context, this rule today and then all these other rules. I know we've been trying to tackle hex chrome, for decades as an air district. My understanding is that, this rule today was to sort of go after a source that was an emerging source that we learned about. So if you could sort of put this rule in context with all the other ones that are to come, and then give us a sense that at the end of this year, do we think we will have tackled all the hex chrome sources with this comprehensive approach with 5 new rules this year? And that at the end of that, we'll feel comfortable that we really tackled this hex chrome problem in our air basin. Sort of a long question, but would like to sort of put the forest instead of the trees on this one and give us a sense about where this fits in, if that makes sense.
So, hi, Susan Nakamura. So as we see it, we see 5 major categories for as it relates to hexavalent chrome. And based on our current knowledge of the conversion of chromium to hexavalent chrome for the different types of alloys, the 5 categories that we see are metal melting. And Rule 1407.1 fills that regulatory gap to address the melting of the chromium alloys. And so we can check that box off. On the metal finishing side, there's a number of still work that needs to be done from the work that we identified from the heated sodium dichromate tanks, and then also some fugitive sources. So we will go back to do a new rule called 1426.1, which isn't on the rule calendar as a rule for 2021, but will be for 2022. And then that includes the 1469, which we already amended, and then amendments to our 1426, which will be coming to you in April. That will be looking at addressing the fugitive emissions from hexavalent chrome, as well as other plating and anodizing operations on the metal finishing side. The other 3 categories are spraying, which you'll be seeing a rule coming up in May, which is 1469.1. Which will be an amendment, and then heat treating, which we're doing a study with UC Riverside, and that will be proposed rule 1435. And then the last category, which will be cutting and welding, which will include laser arc cutting, torch cutting, and welding. These are very high heat sources. And so those will be your 1445, 1435 rules that we're looking at. And then a new rule, 1455 for torch cutting and welding that we're considering. So that's sort of the suite of rules that are associated with hexavalent chrome that we're planning for this year and into next year. Hopefully that should complete the suite of the need for addressing hexavalent chrome from metal melting, finishing, cutting, and welding.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Vice Chair and Ms. Nakamura, and for all the work that our staff is doing. I know all the various workshops on this. And then it's your sense that when we're done with that suite, and again, we've got to learn a lot more about these rules, and they'll come before our board for consideration and the exercise of our judgment on those. But at the end of that, your sense is that we will no longer have regulatory gaps when it comes to hex chrome in our air basin?
As far as we know today, we uncovered things through the ambient monitoring, but based on our current knowledge, this would, pretty much address the suite of what needs to be addressed.
Very good. Any other board member comments or questions? All right, I don't see any other fresh hands raised. I got a couple in there, I think, from earlier. Staff is asking me that we go ahead and include in this motion items 19 through 23. I guess we do want to have a vote on those, or at least recorded that we did receive and file those. That's, Bay was asking me that. So if we can go ahead and include that in a motion for this item, I'd appreciate that. So would someone like to make a motion on item 25 and 19 through 23?
Mr. Chair, I'll move items 25 and also items 19 through 23 for approval.
Mitchell, second.
Very good. Would the clerk go ahead and call the roll?
Supervisor Bartlett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cacchiotti,
Yes.
Senator Delgado,
Yes.
Board Member Krakow,
Yes.
Supervisor Kuehl, Supervisor Kuehl, Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Yes.
This
Vice
is Supervisor Kuehl. I was muted on your end, so I wish to record an aye vote.
Okay, thank you. And Vice Chair Benoit.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0, 3 absent.
Very good. That brings us to, did I hear a comment? It brings us to board member travel. I take it, Wayne, there's nothing on that to add?
That's correct.
All right. And with that, we can go ahead and move into the closed session. Board members, you should have a separate invite for that, for a separate Zoom meeting. And thank you all for a great meeting. And great job, staff. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
It is necessary for the board to recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code sections 54956.9 sub A and 54956.9 sub D sub 4 to consider initiation of litigation.
Boy, we're going to really miss
Okay, I'll let Ron.
Oops, sorry. Report of any reportable actions taken in closed session will be provided to the clerk of the board. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Mike.